everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Back to the Franchise.
You've got to come back with me.
Where?
Back to the
Franchise.
We are the movie podcast where we talk about movies in regards to a new movie coming out. So we watch the old ones or the new ones. That's how it goes. That's the whole thing. Very succinct.
You guys probably know that if you've been following us this entire time. You get the structure of the podcast, but we'll always remind you.
Yeah. And remind you that we're always having new episodes on Tuesdays, wherever you get your podcasts. We're there. Allow us to introduce ourselves again. I removed the restraints and left the cell with the door open. It's me, Timothy Glenn.
I don't understand that reference.
That's the part where Ray Force tricks Daniel Craig to leave the room.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Got it.
I will remove these restraints and leave the cell with the door open. Anyway,
Okay.
I actually tried to figure out last minute what my quotes were going to be for this one, so not great. But the next one's better. I always say the best one's for you. My co-host here, he knows how the Force works. It's Tanner Wilcox.
Ooh, yes, you guys, I'm happy to be back. I'm sorry that I missed last week.
That's okay. I mean, things happen. Tanner, we're glad to have you back. We did miss you on the Clone Wars episode, but thanks again to Nick Raffi for stepping in, being a very knowledgeable guest host. But Tanner, you actually, before we get into this new movie, you did watch the Clone Wars movie in preparation anyway. So I want to at least ask you really quickly about your thoughts on that.
You know, listening to you and Nick talk about that movie, I found myself having a lot of the same opinions as you guys. Mine were maybe a little less eloquently put as yours were. I did watch the movie. It was a rough watch for me. I did not like almost any of it. And I'll just say this. I appreciate, before the fandom comes for me, like, I appreciate what the Clone Wars has given the franchise now.
Mm-hmm.
I do understand that there's a lot of really good, like, extra content there and storylines there. However, as far as that particular movie goes, yeah, I was not like a fan of the animation style. The story felt like just a bunch of like episodes strung together to make a movie, which turns out that's kind of what happened with it anyway. Yeah. So it was fine. I appreciate it for what it is. I didn't love it. I think watching it for the first time as an adult, it's kind of hard because it feels like it really brings the franchise into a more like juvenile place. Rightly so. I mean, it's a cartoon. Yeah, it's not my go-to.
Yeah, so you'd never watched it before, right?
No, and I still have not. I'm a bad Star Wars fan because I've not watched any of the Clone Wars. And I think if I give myself the time to actually commit to it, there's a lot there that I would probably like. But yeah, as of now, I haven't watched any of it.
Yeah, and again, it's a really hard sell to get someone on the Clone Wars show from the movie because, number one, the movie is, just a janky edit of the show. And number two, it's not really even a movie anyway. So, and the animation isn't great in the first couple seasons of the show. So it's like,
I don't know if you and Nick talked about this at all, but that animation style, I think, was pretty different for the time. I don't know that another show that kind of looked like that when it came out. But I found myself when I was watching it, it reminded me a lot of, do you remember Samurai Jack?
Oh, yeah.
To me, it was like a 3D version of Samurai Jack's animation.
Mm-hmm.
At least that's what I kind of thought. So that was interesting.
Samurai Jack wasn't that Genny Tartakovsky?
I don't know. Wasn't that a Cartoon Network show? And then wasn't Clone Wars also a Cartoon Network show?
Yeah. But it makes sense because I'm looking at now, Genny Tartakovsky does Samurai Jack, and then he does the first version of the Clone Wars TV show on Cartoon Network, not the canon version, but the version that preceded the movie and the show. I'm sure that similarity is not accidental.
If it is intentional, I did pick up on it, so that was cool.
I mean, I don't think he worked on the movie or the second show, but just because he worked in the same ballpark, I'm sure that there were influences for sure. Okay, well, I'm glad you actually watched it, just to at least get your take. I don't care for much either of the movie itself. It's a movie that never was supposed to be, basically. But it was nice, a nice little detour in the Star Wars canon for us to discuss because it does open up the TV side of things, which have been really the only thing we've gotten in the last 6 or 7 years.
There's a lot that stems from it, so I understand its importance, but not that enjoyable.
So yeah, but for you listener now, forget all that shit because we're moving on back to the live action and back to the Skywalker saga as as the proper version of Star Wars. So yeah, today we are going back to live action with Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. And I know sometimes it's not really called Episode 7, but I'm doing the whole episode title for SEO purposes. Anyway, so yeah, this movie comes out December 18th, 2015, written and directed by J.J. Abrams, also written by Lawrence Kasdan and Michael Arndt. Before we get into the movie, though, guys, spoiler alert for everything we talk about. We're not going to hold back for the whole episode. So if you are not one of the people who dedicated $2 billion in box office gross to this movie, then, maybe go back and watch it or not. We don't really care. It's up to you.
I appreciate that we do the spoiler warnings every episode, but you guys, just from here on out, this whole podcast is spoilers. The whole thing. So every episode, there's going to be one. Get used to it.
I think for the new releases, we'll probably lay off a little bit, but in regards to the old stuff, now we're not going to really, especially with a movie this big and this old. Not that it's old, but it is been a decade. So I don't really care. Okay, Tanner. So we discussed at the top of the show our personal histories with this one. So this movie, Force Awakens, did you see this in the theater?
I did. Yes. And actually, I was thinking about this earlier today, that this was kind of maybe my correlation. We talk about how people that grew up with the original trilogy then had this kind of like excitement and build up for Phantom when that came out. And I feel like this was kind of that for me because I grew up more with the prequels. So I remember when this one was announced and when there was a trailer for it, like I was very pumped for it. And everything I saw looked good, looked promising to me. So I was really excited. And it was kind of fun to be kind of giddy, I guess, about a movie like as an adult. It was an exciting time for me. I was really stoked for this movie.
Oh, to go back to 2015 when there was very little Star Wars toxicity in the fandom and everyone was just really excited to see a new movie. And then it came out and
then it came out and everybody hated everybody.
Well, no, I would say not until the next one comes out, the next sequel, that is. I guess that's when things get a little bit not fun anymore. But for a little while, it was really, really nice to be a Star Wars fan again. I also saw this in the theater. I actually saw this Christmas Day, which I am not usually a Christmas Day movie watcher because usually I'm spending it with my family. And we don't really do that on the day of. But I was in Bozeman, Montana at the time, visiting my grandparents. It'd be the last one my grandfather had, unfortunately, but we kind of knew that going into it. He ended up going to the movie because he was a little bit, infirm. But my uncle went. My aunt went, my cousin went, like people who like aren't like my movie going family is not as like I'm the only movie nerd in my family, which is weird. Everyone else is kind of normal and just whatever. But even they were like, "Oh, we got to go see Star Wars because it's Star Wars." Like the excitement level had reached the the more casual viewers. So we were like, "Oh, we got to go see it." So yeah, we all went, and it was pretty exciting and great.
Yeah, that was not to segue again. We're back to a Tanner segue.
I love your segues, Tanner.
I'm kind of the same. Like, I'm the only like big film nerd in my family. I mean, I have cousins and my brother will go watch certain things, but I'm the only person that's like, oh, I gotta go to the movies like now. Again, we were never big like Christmas Day moviegoers because we were usually busy with family stuff. But I remember when the first Avatar came out in 2009, for some reason that was also a movie that like all the dads wanted to go to. So like my dad and my three uncles were like, well, we're going to go to the movies tonight. And we're like, well, it's Christmas. Like we're going to, we probably got to get like this stuff done. And they're like, no, we should go to the movies. And so like we basically like wrapped up our family Christmas stat so that everybody could go to the movies by like 2 p.m. Yeah, that was kind of the only big one that everyone was like, and still to this day, like Avatar's not my favorite franchise. I still go watch them, but everybody, all the dads are like, we gotta go watch Avatar.
Yeah, it's fun. Like maybe not every year, but like every other year, every few years, there's like an event movie that just captures the zeitgeist, and it's just something that everyone has to do. Like say your Top Gun Mavericks, your Barbenheimers, that people just have to go experience together all at the same time. I love it when that happens. I love it when everyone is just experiencing this new thing for the first time, and it feels like you're living through the next version of whatever, like the next version of like what Star Wars was like back in the 70s. Yeah, I do, and this movie was definitely that. And we'll get into our feelings on it in a little bit, but I think it was a really fun time to be excited for Star Wars, and it was mostly delivered at the time. All right, so let's get into the history of the movie. Let's travel all the way back in time to the far off year of 2012. Let's go back to, remember when we thought the world was going to end that year?
Remember that wonderful John Cusack movie?
Oh God. Well, that had already been 3 years old by this point. Speaking of which, I do love seeing like that movie, like when you're trying to look it up, like 2012, and then it says 2009 right next to it, and you're like, well, which one is it? Anyway, yeah, bad movie. But yeah, so 2012, this is the year that George Lucas sells out. He cashes in his chips finally after what, 35 years of shepherding Star Wars or so. He had originally planned to do 9 installments, as we talked about in the earlier episodes of this podcast. He had mapped out 3 different trilogies already, but he, at this point in his life, he just done 3 more with the prequels, that is, and he wasn't planning on doing more. He developed the Clone Wars TV show as well, but this is basically when he's like, all right, I'm done. I'm going to retire. So he sells Lucasfilm, the giant company that made so much magic happen, in October of 2012 to Lord Disney, of course.
And it's just all downhill from there.
Of course, they would also end up going on to buy Fox entirely. But for now, Lucasfilm is, you get 2 of the biggest franchises ever with Star Wars and Indiana Jones. Like that just puts them over the top. I mean, Disney also had bought Marvel recently before that, but like to now own Star Wars, like it really made them the mega company, the mega entertainment company that they are today.
Yeah, for sure.
Lucasfilm sells for $4.05 billion, which today would be $5.8 billion. So yeah, Lucas was definitely playing the long game with his baby, and he made a pretty penny off of this one.
Yeah.
Good for you, George. Hope you're sipping a martini in Cabo somewhere.
One of his like 17 houses that he owns now.
Yeah. And then a very popular figure came in to take over Lucasfilm, which is Kathleen Kennedy, who everyone loves, and no one has any bad or misogynistic things to say about her.
No, she's not a polarizing figure at all.
No, everyone loves her, and is completely fair to her for being a woman. We'll get into that when we get into that, but yeah, but she is the person who is now stewarding Lucasfilm, as having done, let's see, she was a producer on things like E.T. with Spielberg and Jurassic Park. So yeah, she's riding the ship now, and this is now, we no longer have George Lucas on board, which is kind of sad for me, because we've been talking about George for 7 episodes now on this podcast, and now he's no longer a contributor.
Well, Tim, now he's got more time to enjoy those yogurt shops that you saw him in as a child that I had never heard of. So,
and that you got chewed out for not knowing by your friends who listened to the show.
Oh, for sure. What was it called again?
TCBY.
TBY. Yep. Still never heard one and never seen one.
It's only the country's best yogurt, Tanner. It's in the name.
It's in the name.
But yeah, Lucas was a consultant early on in this movie. Like he handed over his like story ideas and treatments that he'd written up, but they didn't use any of it.
Can you imagine? They're just like, oh, thanks, George. And then just like slowly slides it into the trash can as he walks away.
What's that Family Guy sketch with Ringo Starr, where it's like, hey guys, I wrote a song with the Beatles, and it's like, oh, that's great, Ringo, we'll put it right here on the refrigerator.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they could have done something with it, but, I mean, I think it's fine that, and George Lucas understood too that this was, him passing the baton off to the next generation of people. I mean, he obviously had his ideas, and we'll get into his thoughts on the movie itself later on, but he knew it was time, and he let them take it with a little begrudging grace, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I wonder how that feeling paid off for him later.
So now that Lucas is no longer in the director's chair, as he was for all the prequels, Jesus Christ, I keep getting my things mixed up. They go through a really big, long list. I have a long list of people who could have directed this movie. And I don't want to get into all of them because I think there's a lot of interesting things to say for any of them. So I'm just gonna run down the list here, and I'll let you decide which one you want to talk about, Tanner. If any one of them stands out to you for what could have been or interesting, I'll start with the top of the list. I got Brad Bird, David Fincher, Jon Favreau, Guillermo del Toro, Matthew Vaughn, Colin Trevorrow, Ben Affleck, Neil Blomkamp. Which of those male directors, Tanner, do you think would have been great to helm Star Wars?
Some of the names surprised me. I'm like, ugh, were they going to give it to Ben Affleck because Argo was so good? Probably.
Was the Best Picture winner at the time. Well, actually, let's see. That would have been no. He would have won Best Picture like 2 months later. But Argo, yes, very big movie at the time.
Yeah. No, probably like Favreau, but I mean that's been proven now that he can do good things with Star Wars material.
Yeah.
So I would be interested to see like what his take on it would have been, or if it would have made this sequel trilogy like better.
I mean, he's proven to be a good fit for Star Wars, definitely. But at the time, he had done just the, like, as far as blockbusters are concerned, he'd done the first two Iron Mans and that Cowboys and Aliens movie that no one remembers.
Maybe not an obvious pick because he hadn't done his like Mandalorian work yet, but kind of too bad that they passed over him because I think he would have done good. Also interested in like Brad Bird's take, because Brad Bird, if you guys don't know, was the director of The Incredibles, which is my favorite Pixar movie. I think he does good work too.
And he had already proved himself as a live action director too with the Mission Impossible 4 Ghost Protocol,
which is one of the best ones.
It's kind of the one people say revitalized the franchise pretty much. Actually, he was Disney's first choice to direct this movie, to direct Force Awakens. But he actually dropped out to make a different movie that came out in 2015 for Disney called Tomorrowland.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
We've talked about outside the podcast about how that was, what's her name?
Oh, God. Britt Robertson.
Britt Robertson?
Britt Robertson.
Britt Robertson. You know what, girl? So sorry, because that was like a career killer for her. And it should have been like the launch, because and you know what, I'm to blame because I don't think I watched that movie. If I did, I don't remember any of it. But like a cool concept. When it was announced, I remember thinking like, oh wow, a whole like land of Disneyland that they're going to kind of theme into like this movie. And
right.
Everybody loves Clooney. You never go wrong with him. Britt hadn't done like a lot that I had seen before then, besides probably her little stint in Scream 4 and Dan in Real Life. But she's the best part of Dan in Real Life.
You are the murderer of love. That's a common quote that we say all the time.
Yeah.
And not to go too deep about Tomorrowland, but I mean, that movie just wasn't very appealing. Like, it didn't really seem very distinct and unique, you know? Like, I mean, and I saw it later on. Like, it's okay. It's just not, you know, memorable.
Yeah.
So yeah, not the greatest choice for Brad Bird. And I don't think he does anything after that, does he?
Did he do Incredibles 2?
Oh, you know what? Yeah, he did that. Okay, so he has done a movie since then, and I do see that he has a movie coming out this year called Ray Gun, which I'm not sure what that is yet. But so yeah, I guess he is coming back. And speaking of things that other people did instead, it is funny because Jon Favreau not doing this movie opens him up to do Chef, the indie movie about him bucking the system. And
I love that movie.
It's a great movie, and don't watch it on an empty stomach, but it is a lovely foodie movie to watch and get yourself.
It's just a good like kind of comfort movie.
But it's funny because that movie is all about like, you know, how he's like, you know what, man, screw the restaurant system. I can't be in the industry anymore. I'm going to do my own thing. It's basically like a whole meta thing about him going through Marvel and, you know, possibly Star Wars, you know, and doing his own. So it's a very interesting that he doesn't do this and does that instead. It's very meta. This movie is a really, like, casting the director's chair of this movie is a very big, like, powder keg moment for Hollywood, because I mean, the fact that so and so doesn't do it means they do this instead. So if you take out any of these directors and put them in elsewhere, you get probably different things. So David Fincher, instead of doing this, he develops House of Cards, and we also get Gone Girl from him in this period. Del Toro, we get Crimson Peak instead.
I like Crimson Peak.
I don't.
I don't.
Matthew Vaughn, actually, who had done X-Men First Class and was going to do the next movie in the X-Men movies, actually dropped out of Days of Future Past to do Star Wars, but they ended up not going with him. So that's why we get Bryan Singer coming back to the X-Men franchise, unfortunately. But Matthew Vaughn gives us Kingsman instead. So
Oh, love.
We get those movies now.
Yeah. Well, that's good because almost everything else on that list I love.
And Colin Trevorrow, he was actually ended up getting hired for episode 9 for Star Wars. That obviously does not pan out, and we'll get into that later. But from him, we get Jurassic World instead, the reboot of that franchise. Say what you will about that, but
Yeah.
Ben Affleck, instead of doing this, does Live by Night, which was a huge failure. Yeah, not a fun movie. And then Neil Blomkamp, instead of this, does Chappie, which I don't like either.
Oh, I don't like that movie.
Yeah, it could have been good, but it's just kind of annoying. So yeah, after that carousel of possible directors, J.J. Abrams gets brought up. The guy who turned Star Trek into Star Wars, basically, gets to do Star Wars now.
And was there like contention in fandom with that? Because I feel like from a money-making standpoint, they're like, oh, J.J. Abrams rebooted Star Trek and made Star Trek cool for the mainstream, so we can give him Star Wars because he's already proven himself with Star Trek, but Star Trek and Star Wars fans are very different and they're very different properties. And I don't know. I wonder if people were just like, oh, you're just going to hand it to him because we're just going to throw anything with stars in the title together and say it's the same.
Well, I mean, and as good a job as he did on Star Trek, I mean, J.J. Abrams was always more of a Star Wars fan anyway. That's probably why the movies end up being a little bit more like Star Wars as reboots.
Yeah.
That is. So for him, it was kind of an easy option to pivot to Star Wars proper. I don't know if there was like any controversy in the fandoms. I mean, I guess Trekkies would be kind of like a little bit miffed that they got dumped for Star Wars, basically, by the guy who resurrected their franchise. I don't remember that happening, but I could see that being a possibility. And, speaking of Star Trek, I mean, speaking of like director carousels, so Abrams leaves Star Trek, which means that they have to fill a new director for the Star Trek sequel, Beyond, the third one's called, and they get Justin Lin to do that. So he leaves Fast and Furious, and they get to do Furious 7, they gotta get another director, so they get James Wan, who leaves Insidious. So by Abrams leaving his franchise, you get all these other directors leaving their franchises to do the next thing too.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But did any of those projects that the directors left for, were any of the next installments like better?
I think Furious 7 is like, not that it's a really high bar, but I think that's the best of the Fast and Furious movies. That's directed by James Wan.
So he left after doing Fast and Furious 6, is what we're saying, and then someone else had to do 7?
No, so Justin Lin did Fast and Furious, I believe, 3 through 6. And then he left to do Star Trek 3. And then coming in to do Fast and Furious 7 was James Wan, who had done Insidious 1 and 2.
Oh, okay. And I would agree too, because I think that 7 is better than 6 and better than 8. Insidious, I don't know, because I only watched the first 2.
Yeah, the first one's okay. I like the first one fine, but the rest are kind of, I mean, he's also known for, like, I mean, James Wan created Saw, so, which is weird to think of, like, he just...
Yeah, but he does some scary, because didn't he also do, like, The Conjuring?
Yeah, and again, he does 2 movies in that franchise, too, and then
Dips
pieces
out?
out. Yep. So he keeps creating these franchises and then just leaves, and then they get worse.
But that's, I mean, whatever, he does the groundwork, because
Yeah.
I feel like all the ones that he starts with are pretty like well received. People, The Conjuring was a big movie and people thought, well, this is kind of like good for, a horror movie.
Yeah. That was a big popular movie at that time. Anyway, a little bit of a rabbit hole there, but yes, I mean, when you have a big franchise like Star Wars coming out and you can kind of, and you're Disney and like you're going to make the biggest movie of the century so far, basically, you're going to have a big ripple effect in Hollywood, no matter what you do. Anyway, just interesting. As far as the writing is concerned, they, and this is a phrase that I heard a lot in the 2010s, was writer's room. Are you familiar with writer's rooms, Tanner?
I mean, I've heard like the term before. I don't know if there's an inside thing there. I don't know it.
Basically, I just felt like it was like a trendy word they used for a while for dormant franchises to find their new direction for the future. And what they would do is they would bring in like 5 or 6 writers or so, and then just put them in a room and have them bounce ideas off of each other. And then whatever ends up sticking, they go with, like Transformers did that. I remember for like the 5th one or whatever, they had a writer's room and they're like, okay, so this is the future of the Transformers franchise. We got to do a writer's room like Star Wars. And it's just instead of just hiring like one person to figure it out or taking like one pitch, you like assemble a team of writers to to Voltron their way to a cohesive idea.
Well, and to even like get, you think Hollywood would just be better off instead of getting writers to do that? Just grab a bunch of like Star Wars fans and put them in a room and be like, what do you guys think? Because I mean, maybe put them in there with some writers, but I think you'd get better ideas out of it.
Yeah, I mean, J.J. Abrams obviously is a Star Wars fan, as one of them, but the other names they get are Michael Arndt, Simon Kinberg, and Lawrence Kasdan to fill out that room, to plan the trilogy as a whole, this new sequel trilogy that they're going to make. Lawrence Kasdan, though, is already a Star Wars veteran, having written, I believe, Empire Strikes Back, and did you Jedi as well?
I was gonna say, yeah, I know that name. We've talked about that.
Yeah, he did. He does the sequels to the first Star Wars movie in the 80s.
Yes,
So
back with Sheriff Lee Brackett.
God, times we're gonna bring him up. Lee Brackett is not in this writer's room, Tanner. But Michael Arndt had done, he's known for Toy Story 3, for instance. So another Disney collaboration, another Pixar person. And Simon Kinberg also he's known for developing the X-Men franchise in the 2000s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they get some people. They hire Michael Arndt, though, to write the first draft of the movie. So after they've planned this trilogy, and I use the word plan in quotations because nowadays people will criticize the trilogy for not having a cohesive plan going through it. And we'll talk about it, but reportedly they did plan it out.
You can't tell.
No, you can't really tell. But for now, we're only talking about this one movie, so they get Michael Arndt to write it. He writes for 8 months, the first draft of the screenplay. I believe this is 2013 now we're in. They hire him in January, I think. And he wants to write for 18 more. He requests 18 more months to write. And Disney and Abrams are like, no, bro, you can't, we can't sit on this for another year and a half.
No. So what'd they give him? Another like 4?
No, they relieve him of his duties.
Oh.
Yeah, so here comes Abrams and Kasdan to come clean up the mess, I guess. October of 2013, they take over writing duties from Arndt, and Arndt is done. And the screenplay is finished a mere 3 months later in January of 2014. So I mean, and I guess since we mentioned like we wish they would have like planned out the whole trilogy more. Do you think that having more time to develop it would have been beneficial, or like? Because I mean, this movie comes out 3 years after they buy Lucasfilm. Do you think they should have waited longer to release it, or?
I don't know that. I mean, I think that they should have had a clear trilogy plan because I don't believe that they did. Or I think that whatever they went with, they, deviated from that plan. I think the first one is fine on its own. And I don't think that it could have been like improved on with more time because I don't really have a lot of issues with it.
I think I agree. I think in that terms, I think they should have taken more time with the sequels to this movie. And it's weird because the original Star Wars trilogy is a 3-year gap between each of them. And the same thing with the prequels. But then once Disney comes in, there's a 2-year gap in between each of the main episodes. And then in between those gaps, you also get like these spin-off movies. So we get like five years in a row of Star Wars, and it's a lot. And I felt like they could have taken more time with it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, maybe they should have timed out like the overall plan better. I don't know. It's hard when you're not there, I guess.
Although I guess now that I'm talking about it, like if they delayed Rise of Skywalker anymore, they would have ran face first into the pandemic like 3 months later. So
yeah.
So I guess they were lucky to have gotten that out before theaters shut down. Yeah, so they are supposedly planning this all out at the time. They said they were also communicating with Rian Johnson and Colin Trevorrow, who were hired back then to do episodes 8 and 9. At the time, Abrams was not planning on doing more than just this movie. Obviously, that changed, but for now, they were planning ahead for the next 2 as well. But Tanner, let's get into casting. This is a big movie to cast.
Yeah, lots of new faces, and it's a fun one because you get legacy cast and new principal cast.
Mm-hmm. So I'll start with the main character, Daisy Ridley, as Rey. And before I get into the possible casting, I always forget the young version of Rey is played by Kaylee Fleming, I always forget is Judith from The Walking Dead, aged up.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And now she's like what she was like in that Ryan Reynolds If movie from a couple years ago, the Imaginary Friend movie. Yeah, so she's young Ray in that flashback scene. I always don't recognize her from that, even though I've watched all Walking Dead. But for the casting process of this movie, I couldn't get like really definitive like answers on who auditioned or who was just considered or whatever, or what roles they were considered for. So I'm just gonna go character by character for now and just say that they were considered, period. I won't say if they've auditioned or not because I'm not entirely sure how far they got, but I'll start with Ray. Considered to play Ray were Isaac Gonzalez, Jessica Henwick, Jennifer Lawrence, Billy Lord, Lupita Nyong'o, Elizabeth Olsen, Saoirse Ronan, and Shailene Woodley. Are there any of those that stand out to you, Tanner?
A lot of them are interesting choices to me,
Uh.
but I get it too because a lot of them were, like YA franchise stars at the time. Jennifer Lawrence was still doing Hunger Games stuff at this time. Shailene Woodley was still doing Divergent stuff at this time. Lupita Nyong'o comes right off of a Oscar win. Jennifer Lawrence actually would come off of an Oscar win too. Yeah, so like big names, good. I don't know that they all fit.
No, and I think the thing against all of them, maybe except for Isaac Gonzalez, he's more known today than she was back then. But I think the thing against all of them is that they were too well known, and they wanted to kind of mirror the original casting of the original movies by getting unknown actors to play these main characters, to get the next Mark Hamill. I mean, obviously, Carrie Fisher was a Nepo child of Debbie Reynolds and stuff, but she wasn't known to the public, so it was still an
Well, I
unknown
mean,
casting.
same with like Billy Lord if they had gone with her.
Oh, that would be weird because you'd be casting her to play a character who is not Leia's daughter, but she is Leia's, and then people would just be like, "Oh, but she's Leia's daughter," because you can't. Obviously, you just spoiled it.
Yeah, but I mean, like a Nepo baby who I don't think was like super well known at the time, besides maybe in like the Ryan Murphy universe.
Yeah, although Billy Lord, of course, does end up being in these movies anyway, playing
Yeah.
background character. I forget her name, but part of the Resistance. And so does Jessica Henwick, by the way, is also. And I actually didn't catch her in this movie, but do you know Jessica Henwick?
No.
She's in stuff. You would recognize her. She was. She's probably best known for being in that terrible Iron Fist show from Netflix. She played Colleen Wing, who was probably the best part of that bad show. And she was in like The Matrix 4, the new one. She did The Gray Man with Ryan Gosling, and she's great. I think she could have been good too. She was unknown at the time as well. But
All those projects she's done though, not great.
but she's great.
Yeah, but it's too bad. I mean, also, but like, Iron Fist especially. Could you imagine leading, like, you walk away from Game of Thrones to lead that show, and that's what you come off of? Like, ugh.
What's that guy's name again? Finn Jones?
I don't know, it's Finn something, but I know that's why he left Game of Thrones.
Oh, really? Like, they didn't just like, he wasn't just written out. He actually left.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if the plan was to write out like the Tyrells like they did anyway, but I do know that he was like he wanted to get written out because he had taken that lead in Iron Fist.
Well, and then not train for it. Which is what he got flack for, is that he was not up to snuff with the action stuff.
Yeah, too bad.
Anyway, tangent. But speaking of Marvel, Elizabeth Olsen was up for this role as well. Obviously, she's Hollywood royalty, being an Olsen sister, but she actually doesn't do this because she ends up doing Scarlet Witch instead. So we get that, thankfully.
Well, and I think I prefer her as our Scarlet Witch anyway.
Moving on to Kylo Ren, of course, we have Adam Driver and a now iconic role, but considered at the time were the likes of Michael Fassbender, Joel Kinnaman, and Eddie Redmayne.
Ooh.
And I think, again, I didn't say this for Rey, but I think they got the right casting for Rey, and I think they got the right casting for Kylo Ren as well.
Because I wasn't like an Adam Driver fan before these movies. I didn't really know who he was, and I hadn't watched Girls at the time, which I think was what he was probably most well known for. But I remember I had friends that watched Girls, and I'm like, who is this guy? And they're like, he's the boyfriend from Girls. And so then I looked up like clips from him in that show, and I was like, ugh, this guy is so weird. Like, which he is weird, but I think ultimately I do like him in the Kylo Ren part.
Yeah, and he's better. Like, Michael Fassbender is he's Magneto. Like, it would have been distracting.
He's too Magneto, and Eddie Redmayne is not like menacing enough to me.
Well, I mean, the same year this comes out, he's the villain in Jupiter Ascending.
I was just gonna say that was my cutaway. Was like, look at him as the villain emperor in Jupiter Ascending.
I create life
With the most bizarre accent ever.
And he keeps changing his tones, like his frequencies. Yeah, well, he's got an Oscar too, so he's fine.
Yeah,
And then Joel Kinnaman, he's never really impressed me. He's just kind of there.
Joel Kinnaman of the RoboCop remake.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'll just stop there.
Yeah, he's kind of bland to me, but whatever. Anyway, moving on to Finn. So this is John Boyega, who was also a kind of unknown at the time. He was known for that British Attack the Block movie, that Alien Invasion. Did you ever watch that?
Mm-mm.
It's pretty funny. It's kind of like it's very Edgar Wright-esque, with its humor. It's about these London street hoodlums who have to fend off their apartment complex from these alien creatures. It's pretty funny.
Oh.
I recommend it. That's kind of what got him noticed. He actually got the role thanks to a little known actor named Tom Cruise. Introduced him to J.J. Abrams, and the rest is history.
Tom Cruise helped John Boyega get the role?
Yeah.
Oh.
He introduced him to J.J. Abrams, and that's how he got the part. He actually he had to drop out of another role he was cast in. He was cast in a Jesse Owens biopic movie called Race. Did you ever see that?
No.
Not great. It's kind of forgettable. It's who played it? Stephen James was the guy they replaced him with. It comes out in 2016, so right about after Force Awakens comes out. It also stars Jason Sudeikis as like the coach. Not a great movie.
Not a great movie.
Good for Boyega, be the right choice. But also considered to play Finn were Ray Fisher, the actor who is most known as playing Cyborg in the Justice League movies, Tom Holland, Jesse Plemons, and Ed Spieler as Aragon himself.
Oh.
Which is
Those
weird
are
because
interesting.
I feel like Ed Spieler would have been like washed out of those conversations for a while before this. No offense, but
Well, yeah, and Tom Holland had he already done Spider-Man?
no. So
Not Spider, but he'd already shown up in like Civil War, right?
no. So Civil War
Before?
is the year after this.
Same
So
year?
he had
Oh,
not done
okay.
Spider-Man yet, or he had not been cast yet as Spider-Man. That is.
So probably the better move for him. I mean,
Yeah.
to do Spider-Man. Who were the other ones? Jesse Plemons. Ugh.
Yeah.
Fat Damon.
I knew you were gonna say that.
You guys, I'm so sorry. That's a really insensitive comment. When Jesse Plemons first came into my radar, I recognized him as Fat Damon. He is no longer overweight, and I think he's a great actor. Yeah.
He's so skinny. Did you see Begonia?
Yeah.
Oh, he's great in that.
Yes, but he's
But
like scary to me.
he's super thin and like not washed.
Yeah, no, he looks he's thin and dirty.
I actually expected him to be the one back when I was following this casting development. I expected him to be the one to get cast as Finn. He was kind of the front runner, having done like Breaking Bad and stuff like that. And that the first thing I always think of him in is that Observe and Report movie with Seth Rogen.
Is he in that?
Yeah, he's like one of the mall cops.
Oh, I should go back and look at that.
Or the first thing I saw
I am
him in.
excited because he's going to be in Sunrise on the Reaping, the new Hunger Games installment.
Yes, he's the new.
He's Philip Seymour Hoffman's replacement.
He's Philip Seymour Hoffman.
No, it was Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Sorry, guys. We reference Family Guy a lot. Although, okay, not to get into a Hunger Games thing, but isn't the like timeline off with that casting? Like, if you have Philip Seymour Hoffman and Woody Harrelson over here, right, and then you go over here and you have young Haymitch as a teenager, and then you have Jesse Plemons, like the ages are off, right?
Yeah, and I don't know where that. I mean, I think it's believable enough on the surface, but I do think that I think Plutarch is supposed to be older than he originally appeared in the movies as like Philip Seymour Hoffman. So maybe that's kind of where it's like, I don't know.
Plutarch's skin routine is unparalleled.
Yeah, I don't know. Plus they're like, oh my God, he went from being a redhead to a blonde. Weird.
Anyway, little Hunger Games talk. So yeah, we get John Boyega in this one. John Boyega, I don't know if you know, is actually British.
I did know that, yeah.
And he actually started playing Finn as British with his accent, but he and J.J. Abrams just didn't feel like it felt right, so they decided to pivot to just an American, which is weird because I feel like with Star Wars and any franchise that movie that takes place in space, where there are no accents, you just default to whatever you already are, and you just don't really worry about the accent,
Well, and I feel like not that Star Wars is necessarily a fantasy. I think there's a strong bridge between fantasy and sci-fi with Star Wars. But I feel like a lot of fantasy movies, if it's a made up place, we kind of just default to a British accent. then we're
Yeah.
like, yeah,
Fantasy definitely, especially, is just British. It's just
Yeah.
if it's an English speaking show, it's a British accent. It doesn't
it's British.
even if they get an American, like what's his name, Tyrion, Peter Dinklage, then
Oh yeah.
they make him do, which I thought he was British forever because of that show. Anyway, but yeah, it is funny how like you'll watch like a Star Wars movie and then you'll have like British parent and like their American kid just have completely different accents. They never really address it.
You never address it.
But again, it's space. Like, who cares? Like, no one really is paying attention to this shit anyway. Okay, so coming back, we also have the holy trinity of original trilogy actors. We have Harrison Ford coming back as Han Solo, getting top billing for the first time.
Well, I mean, he's kind of like a lot of this movie kind of turns into like a Han Solo movie anyway.
It's the Han movie, yeah.
Yeah.
He's the first non-Jedi actor to get top billing, and he gets 25 large for this one.
Oh.
He came in as a big paycheck.
I'm surprised. I mean, and that must have been why he did it, because he's been begging to be killed off for 30 years.
Yeah, he wanted to be killed off, especially in Return of the Jedi. He wanted to be sacrificed for the greater good, and he couldn't convince George Lucas to kill off one of his main characters. But Lawrence Kasdan, who was, working on Return of the Jedi, he liked that idea, and so now that he's on this one, and there's no George Lucas around to to stop him.
I can just, can you picture that too? Like back in the 80s or late 70s when they were writing Empire or Jedi, they're like Harrison Ford and Lawrence Kasdan. Like Lawrence Kasdan's just got the notepad and he's like, "Yes, die here." And at the same time, George Lucas is like, "No, absolutely not." And you're just like, "Okay, gonna rip this off and just throw it away." And then finally, you're like, "Oh, I get to do this again 40 years later."
I've been wanting to kill you forever.
And he's just like, "What are your ideas for the movie, Lawrence?" And he's just like, "Death, die." It's like
Dead.
he just has a page that says "die."
And then Harrison's like, they're like, "Harrison, what do you have? What do you want to accomplish with the movie?" And he's like, "Well, I'd like to get paid a lot and then not have to come back ever again."
Which, you know what? Good for him, right choice, because he got to exit before they went downhill.
Yeah. Although they do like this is just the start of him bringing back like every iconic character he's ever done. Like Blade Runner 2, he does another Indiana Jones after this. Like,
Yeah, that's true.
he can't get away from his icons, man. Speaking of icons, we also got Carrie Fisher coming back as General Leia Organa in this one. And we also get Mark Hamill coming back as Luke Skywalker for a hot sec. Both of them, I found out, were immediately assigned like nutritionalists and, people to like get them in the right shape for the role. And Carrie Fisher's like, "I'm not losing weight. Fuck this."
She's like, "You know what? You're going to put me in that baggy vest, and that's what you're going to get." You know what it looks like they did, actually? It's like they're like, "Oh, you know what? We still have Aunt Beru's denim vest from A New Hope. We'll just stick you in that, Carrie." That's basically what she looks like this entire movie.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about Luke Skywalker, though. He was actually originally written to come in midway through the movie, but then was considered to be distracting. So they, made him a plot device kind of thing.
I kind of like saving him for the end, though. It's a lot of good build-up.
What I like, and not just him, I like how they give you time with the new characters for a while.
Yeah.
Before Han Solo shows up and he does some stuff, and then Leia eventually shows up and she says some stuff, and then Luke shows up and does nothing. And this movie, we'll get into a little bit later, is kind of the template for what would be called the legacy sequel that a lot of these franchises like eventually copy, where you have new characters surrounded by new main characters, surrounded by legacy characters who are now supporting, and the formula of like introduce the new bunch and bring in the old bunch. This movie's very influential in that regard. But to continue the casting discussion as it is, we also have Oscar Isaac as Poe Dameron in this movie, who I guess kind of breaks the like trend of the unknown actor, because he was a little bit known at the time. By this time,
I didn't know who I feel like this was still kind of like a big like breakout role for him, though.
Well, okay, so he had done. He'd been in that Jeremy Renner Bourne spinoff movie, for instance. He was in Sucker Punch. He played King John in Robin Hood, that one with Russell Crowe.
Uh-huh.
He was in Drive with Ryan Gosling. Like, he did plenty of stuff. He did Inside Llewyn Davis. He was the main character in a Coen Brothers movie in Inside Llewyn Davis. So he done stuff, but
Well, I guess maybe not that he like wasn't doing anything, but I think this made him more of like a household name.
sure, this is definitely like his first like iconic role. And then after that, like the next year you get him in X-Men, I guess, if you can see him behind on the makeup as Apocalypse. But the other names that were thought of for him, I have two. Speaking of X-Men, I got James McAvoy. And speaking of Marvel as well, I got Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Yeah, too I think just too well known again.
Yeah, Chiwetel, obviously, he also wins an Oscar for no, he doesn't win the Oscar for 12 Years a Slave. But he's the face of that movie, so
Well, yeah, and I mean he got a lot of like critical acclaim for that movie. Him and Lupita.
yeah. And then after this, he does kind of join a big franchise with the Doctor Strange movies, even though he still hasn't been still waiting for that post-credit scene from that first Doctor Strange to actually matter.
Dude, if we don't have the time to go over post-credit Marvel scenes that have not come to fruition.
No. Again, I think though, if we're talking about Poe Dameron, again, I think they made the right choice. I like James McAvoy a lot, and I like Chiwetel a lot too. But I think for this character, for this kind of brash, he's kind of your Han Solo stand-in for the next generation, I guess, as this like cocksure pilot. And I think they made the right choice. I like Oscar Isaac a lot in this role.
Me too.
You get Peter Mayhew coming back as well as Chewbacca, although this is the first time he shares the role with Junius Suotamo, who I believe is a basketball player, who ends up taking over the role after this. Peter Mayhew was unfortunately going through some health issues at the time, so this is actually the last time we do get Peter Mayhew as Chewbacca. And then also coming back, of course, is Anthony Daniels as C-3PO. He was approached to just do the voice, but he wanted to do the suit again, so it's him in the suit once again.
He's like, no, guys, this has been collecting dust in my garage for another 15 years.
But you wouldn't recognize him because of the red arm.
Yeah.
But good for him. He's probably like the I think the one actor who's done the most Star Wars in anything. And then also for some new roles, we get Double Gleason as General Hux Double.
With double. Oh,
Double. And it's funny because this year is also the year that Ex Machina comes out. So you can watch that movie earlier in the year with Donald Gleason and Oscar Isaac as, good guy and bad guy. And then you watch this movie and they switch roles,
Well, you could also watch, because About Time was 2012, right?
2013, I think, yeah.
Yeah, hello. That was his like Notebook-esque movie where everybody loved him.
That wasn't like a huge movie, though, I wouldn't say.
I don't know. That movie was a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be. And I think ever since then, it's kind of even gained more momentum.
Well, that I will agree with. Yes. That's a classic.
Yeah.
It's like everyone should watch that movie.
I love that movie.
It's great.
Donald Good, yes. His character, I'm like, ugh, he just gives me the
Oh, he's so delicious. Like that speech where he has like the Nazi speech in front of everybody.
But I'm like, can we tone down the screaming and like the eye twitching?
I dig it. Also joining this movie, Lupita Nyong'o doesn't get cast as Rey, but she does get cast as Maz Kanata as a voice role. I love Maz Kanata in this movie as like your standard Yoda, basically. But she's like an old an old cougar kind of character, like old alien cougar,
an old cougar like tavern keeper
who's horny for Chewbacca. It's funny, and I think she does a great job as a voice. This is kind of her first like next big movie too after 12 Years a Slave.
Yeah.
She's great in this. You also get Max von Sydow for a hot sec in the very beginning of the movie as a character named Lor San Tekka. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but
his character never really made sense to me.
Well, he's just there to like have part of the map and then die.
I mean, you don't know at the time, but clearly he has connection to knowing who Kylo Ren is. His dialogue sets up a lot of things that, again, never really come to fruition because he's the first person to mention like the Knights of Ren, and I don't know. So it seems like a lot more would have come from his character, and then it just doesn't.
Yeah. Well, I think what they were trying to do was like have like a recognizable actor get killed in the very first scene. Kind of fit the bill in that regard. Again, though, they were considering to cast once again to Star Wars Gary Oldman for this role, but didn't do it.
Really?
Yeah, once again, Gary Oldman hadn't been considered for Grievous, hadn't been considered for, I believe, for Qui-Gon Jinn as well. He's been dancing around a Star Wars part forever.
Well, what's the excuse this time? Because he had no more fireplaces to appear in Harry Potter, so...
Well, let's see. Gary Oldman in the 2010s. What was he doing? Well, he wins an Oscar after this for Darkest Hour as Winston Churchill. As far as franchises, though, he's done with Dark Knight at this point. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if he was actually offered the role though this time around. Oh, you know what he was doing? RoboCop. Speaking of that movie.
Oh, with Joel Kinnaman.
With Joel Kinnaman. Again, ripple effects. Okay, and then we also get Andy Serkis as the default motion capture guy because he's the only one in the business who can do it. There's nobody else who can do motion capture besides Andy Serkis. So he's Snoke in this movie. And then you also have Gwendolyn Christie coming on to this movie as Captain Phasma, although you probably wouldn't know it because we don't see her face.
No, she does have she has lines in this one though that are recognizable, but I think only to someone who's probably a Game of Thrones fan at the time.
Yeah, and maybe if they recognize, like, oh, this is a tall female stormtrooper, like, who could it be? Like,
Yeah.
she's known for that. But the role was originally written as a man, as a male character, and they changed it because there was some, after they announced like a lot of the casting or a lot of the characters that were going to be in the movie, everyone's like, okay, so you have Rey and then Leia, and then everyone else is a dude, you know? You write one new role for a woman, and that's it. I mean, I know she's the main character, but come on, guys. Yeah, so they rewrote it. Originally, their consideration before they changed the gender of the character was going to be Benedict Cumberbatch was considered to play this character.
But he was busy doing what? Hobbit
Doctor
stuff?
Strange. Hobbit stuff, yeah.
Doctor Strange?
He was busy crawling around on the floor and pretending to be a dragon.
Have you ever watched that behind the scenes
Yes.
footage
I have.
of his smog?
It's
It's
so
very impressive, but I could not have been someone who worked on that set. Because if I was going to film him, I would literally be like, like I would just be covering my mouth laughing. I could not do it.
Have a dragon.
But I mean, like, good for him because the intensity he brings to that role is so good.
No, he does great. It's just funny seeing him in that suit in a room
Yeah,
with
it's
nothing
just-
in it, and
It's so hard to watch, like, the motion capture footage of that.
yeah. Anyway, okay, so now I have a bunch more actors that I don't know what they were up for. I mean, we can speculate on it, but so I'm just going to list them here: Michael B. Jordan, Jack O'Connell, David Oyelowo, Dev Patel, Alex Pettifer, Miles Teller, Ty Sheridan, and Hugo Weaving.
Those all sound like Finn options, except for Hugo Weaving was probably a General Hux option.
It didn't say particularly what role it would have been, but it would have been Imperial Commander. Is all I have.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing Hux. And then the only other note I have is Ty Sheridan's role was eventually aged up, so he wouldn't have been too young to play it now.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then of course, because they don't cast Michael B. Jordan, Miles Teller, we get the Fantastic Four movie.
Oh, yeah.
Same year. So thank goodness for that.
Oh, good.
So
Hey.
good. Okay, and then I just want to list a bunch of because this is like the start of like the cameo like frenzy in Star Wars. Like everyone wants to be like in a Star Wars movie as like a whoever, you know. So also appearing in this movie while we're talking about the cast, we got showing up in various parts Ken Lung, Simon Pegg, who plays Unkar Platt, the the market guy who's like, you know, stiff arming Rey at the beginning.
Oh,
And Simon Pegg, of course, huge Star Wars fan, going back to his early days of, you know, space and stuff. Finally gets to participate. Also, there's of course, J.J. Abrams connection for Star Trek as well. But
yeah.
and speaking of of J.J. Nepo like stuff, we got the obligatory Greg Grunberg showing up in this movie.
The what?
You know, Greg Grunberg. He's like, okay, never mind. Greg Grunberg. He did the one of like Alias. He's like J.J. Abrams' best friend. He's the bearded guy at the Resistance.
I thought you were gonna be like, speaking of J.J. Abrams, his daughter's in this, and I'm like, what?
I mean,
She
she probably is. I don't know if she even exists.
probably
but
is somewhere.
yeah. You also have Jessica Henwick showing up, having been a Rey possibility somewhere in here. You got the guys from The Raid. Have you ever seen The Raid?
No.
It's an Indonesian action movie from 2012 that like redefined like how action is shot. Basically, the actors are Yuyan Ruhian and Iko Uwais, and they play the guys that show up on the Millennium Falcon, or not the Millennium Falcon, but the other ship when that like tentacle creature gets released.
Oh, yeah. When I know what you're talking about.
They show up for half a second. And I remember when this movie came out, everyone was like, so you got the Raid actors, two of the best martial arts actors ever, and you give them like nothing to do.
They have to run down a catwalk from an alien.
Yeah. You get Warwick Davis coming back as a quick part in the I think it's the Maz Kanata cantina scene. He shows up. Star Wars legend right there. Hannah John Kamen, who is probably best known as playing Ghost in the Ant-Man movie, shows up here somewhere. I'm not sure where. As a character called as a First Order officer. Also playing a First Order officer is Thomas Brody Sangster, who is, what's his name on Game of Thrones? He plays Bran's friend, you know,
Oh, Jojen Reed,
Yeah, Jojen. Yeah.
who just perpetually looks like an 8-year-old boy.
Yep. Yep. And I caught him on this viewing. I was like, oh, that's Jojen, even though I didn't
Oh,
know
it's
the name.
Jojen.
Yeah. You got Billy Lord showing up in the background and not play Carrie Fisher's daughter, even though she is. You've got this one. This is an actor I like, Pip Torrens. Do you know who this guy is?
Uh-uh.
Well, you do, because if you play the Dark Pictures games, he's always in the library to tell you about the stories. He's the narrator.
Oh, that got the. You know, my favorite role of his is
Yeah.
22 Jump Street.
What was he in that one?
He's the drug dealer that they bust at the beginning, and he ends up being the villain's dad. But he's always like, "Oh, drugs are so complicated now. It's not like cocaine in the 90s."
No. Sorry, you're thinking of Peter Stormare,
Oh my God.
who is the Until Dawn version of that kind of character.
Oh, yes, that's what I'm thinking of. The guy
You're
in the
think,
library until dawn.
but in the Dark Pictures, the Pip Torrens is the new guy. So the
Oh,
curator.
my mistake, listeners. I mean, I was correct. He is in Until Dawn, and that is still my favorite role of his is 22 Jump Street as the drug dealer.
I was like, who is he talking about? I don't remember Pip Torrens being in 22 Jump Street. And I was like, oh wait, that's right. Also cameoing in this movie are Daniel Craig and Michael Giacchino. Daniel Craig, I think, was filming Spectre nearby and just wanted to show up and be a stormtrooper. So he's the stormtrooper that Rey Jedi mind tricks to leave the cell with the doors open.
Which, when he talks, is that Daniel Craig's voice?
Yeah, that's him. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, he's doing an American accent, but I guess to disguise that it's him, because I guess if you heard Bond all of a sudden, it'd be distracting, you know?
Yeah.
And then Michael Giacchino, who is a composer for J.J. Abrams. This is actually the first movie that he doesn't compose. I mean, obviously John Williams does it, but Giacchino has done the score for all of Abrams' other movies.
Oh.
Also in here, so another collaborator. But he said that he, like, when he was asked, like, hey, are you sad that you're not doing Star Wars because, you know, it's JJ? And he was like, no, I'd rather listen to John Williams' shit. I don't want to do it.
I wouldn't do it.
It's John Williams' gig, like, it's not mine. Although I think he does Rogue One, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, that's him. Okay, yeah, he does Rogue One. You got Judah Friedlander showing up in this one as well in a cameo role. He's the guy from, what is it, 30 Rock?
Yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Okay. I don't know who he plays in this movie. I'm not sure where he shows up, but I have him down here. Kevin Smith also shows up somewhere as a background character, I guess. Also another huge Star Wars fan. Finally gets to be in Star Wars. And then we got these like little vision cameos from Rey's like nightmare sequence. You hear Ewan McGregor really briefly as Obi-Wan Kenobi, as well as Alec Guinness, even though he was dead already. Did you catch that?
Yeah, I mean, I can hear Ian McGregor. I didn't know that I could hear Alec Guinness, but
Alec Guinness, funnily enough, he says Rey in the vision when she's, you know, running around or whatever. But you're like, but wait a second, how do they have him saying Rey when she wasn't a character 40 years ago? And I think they took a clip or a soundbite of him saying afraid and then shortened it. To get the Rey. So anyway,
interesting.
Ewan McGregor actually he replaced James Arnold Taylor, who had already recorded the lines for this movie. He having been the Obi-Wan from the Clone Wars show, but they got McGregor instead to do it. And they got also Frank Oz to do Yoda for that scene as well. He recorded some new audio for it, but they actually ended up just using archived stuff. So no new Yoda stuff was used either. And then lastly, I just want to mention these aren't in the actual movie, but they were consultants. You have Kenny Baker as a creative consultant for the R2-D2 stuff. He's not actually in the suit this time. Not that he would have had anything to do really besides just stand there in the corner of the room while he's powering down or whatever. But this is the last time he works on a Star Wars project before he unfortunately passes away. And then I also have here as vocal consultants for, I believe, BB-8 was Bill Hader and Ben Schwartz.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, two very prominent. Ben Schwartz now known for Sonic the Hedgehog, and Bill Hader having done pretty much everything in the voice world.
Ben Schwartz, like John Ralphio, Parks and Rec. Ben Schwartz.
And he's the worst.
She's the worst.
He's not. I love him. That's just the line of the show. Okay, let's jump into filming. So now that we have the cast set and the script written, we jump into principal photography in May of 2014, and it runs to November of that year. The first place they visit for location is Abu Dhabi to film in the Rub al Khali Desert, apologies if I pronounced that wrong, which stands in for Jakku, Rey's home planet. And a little cleanup too, by the way. I believe a few episodes ago you asked me what planet Rey was from. I think I said Jeddah instead of Jakku. So anybody who's been
Oh,
mad at me for messing that up, this is your
Tim, do your research.
I don't know where I got that from anyway either. I don't know if Jeddah's like something else or whatever. But anyway, yeah. Because they go back to the desert basically, not Africa, but close enough. Because, this is the Luke Skywalker story once again. So you got to have your main character start in the desert.
Of course.
Yeah. And then, but from there on, it's pretty much just studio stuff. So they don't have to really do much on location stuff for this movie. Thankfully, they shoot most of it at Pinewood Studios in Buckinghamshire, England. Is that right?
I don't know. It's
Buckinghamshire?
You never say. I know that it's never like Shire. It's always sure.
Buckinghamshire, England.
But I'm like, is it like Buckinghamshire? Because that seems like it doesn't go together well.
Buckinghamshire. Buckinghamshire.
You know, it would just be easier if they just continued to go to Leavesden.
Leavesden. Oh, yes, of course. So this was a big news story when they were filming in Pinewood. Harrison Ford fractures his leg on the hydraulic door of the Millennium Falcon when it falls on him.
Oh.
Do you remember this?
No.
Well, it's a big story. So, the hydraulic door, I guess, that goes into the Falcon fell on his ankle, and his ankle, according to J.J. Abrams, bent at a 90-degree angle.
Oh.
Yeah, and they had to shut down production for like 2 weeks because of it.
Not good.
It was also around the time of what was the Harrison Ford also had to do a crash landing for his plane or whatever. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that.
Let's see. I want to find out when that was because I don't know. Was that before this or after? Let's see. I just looked up his Wikipedia page, and there's like a whole thing it's just incidents, and there's like 5 of them.
Incidents.
And then
Harrison Ford accidents.
I searched plane, and plane is in 3 of them. So okay, so this was 2015. So yeah, when his plane accident happened, he had to do an emergency landing on a golf course where he got injured. That would have been after he filmed this movie, though. Which is funny though. Incidents. Harrison Ford.
Well, good thing he already knew how to crash land a plane from 6 days and 7 nights.
Oh god, yeah. I was wondering we were gonna go with that. That's a mess of a movie, but sure.
I've never actually seen that movie.
It's not great.
It's not great.
And you have what's its name? David Schwimmer in that movie because Friends was super huge at the time, and he plays like the other guy that what's her name, Anne Heche, is seeing in the beginning, but he's not Harrison Ford. He's not sexy. And there's entire scenes devoted to him like being hung up at the island, like waiting for her to come back, and he like is like this like really hot lady, and she's like, "I'll take care of your injuries, Mr. Ross," or whatever his name is, and he's like, "No, I can't have sex with you."
Okay, that's it. I'm watching it now.
It's really stupid. But I mean, if you're, you could tell like, oh, we got the Friends star. We got to do something with him. It's just, ugh. Anyway, a little tangent. But yeah, so the incident with Harrison Ford with the hydraulic door, J.J. Abrams tried to lift the door off of him and ended up fracturing his back vertebrae doing so. Although he didn't really tell anybody that until much later. And then Disney was sued for this incident. And their subsidiary UK production company called Foodles had 4 criminal charges brought against them, and they were fined $1.95 million in 2016.
What?
Yeah.
Like sued by Harrison Ford?
No, sued by like the UK, basically.
Oh.
UK production office or whatever. Or Department of like worker safety and stuff like that. But yeah, so they pretty much filmed the rest of this movie in the UK. They shoot a little bit in Ireland at Skellig Michael, which is like a island off of the coast of Ireland for that Luke ending with Rey, the planet of Octo. And lastly, they shoot at Puzzlewood Forest of Dean and Okay. I'm gonna need your help with this one. Gloucestershire. Gloucestershire. Well, see, I feel like they're skipping like 5 syllables in that.
Well, it's like Worcestershire sauce.
Well, again, it looks like Worcestershire. Like it.
Yeah.
They skip so many letters. Okay, Gloucestershire, England. They shoot Gloucestershire. Sure. They shoot the forest scenes from Takodana, where Maz Kanata's compound is. They film some background stuff for the Kylo Ren and Rey confrontation when she gets captured. But nobody has to go to Tunisia, so win-win-win.
Yeah, I'm like, God, what a hellhole. I would have made that a condition if I took that job. I'd be like, we're not going to Tunisia. Any of the actors would be like, we're not going to Tunisia.
The day that George Lucas comes in with his early drafts or his ideas for the next movie, and then they just read it, it says, "We open on Tunisia." Oh, okay. Sorry, George.
Again, they're like, thanks, George. Trash.
We are not going to Tunisia. Thanks a lot. No. Okay, so let's get into the post-production stuff of this movie. They actually use a lot of practical effects in this movie over CGI, which was surprising for a lot of people. A lot of people thought that BB-8 was for instance, a CGI creation. Nope, not at all.
Practical?
Yep, practical. He was puppeteered. And in fact, by the time that, this movie was being marketed and stuff, they actually like made like a real like BB-8 toy you could buy, and that works like that with the head on top of the little round head on top of the brown body, and it shifts as it rolls.
Well, yeah, they had I remember they came out with like an RC BB-8 that you could control. And he would roll around.
Yeah, that was a huge holiday toy that year. I don't think I ever saw one, but it was everywhere. Also, like the hollow chest sequence was, they went like when they're on the Falcon and then that chessboard comes up again from the first movie, and those creatures were again stop motion once more. And the one thing that everyone was like, that has to be CGI, can't be, is the random shot of Rey making bread in the beginning when it rises. She twirls some powder in there and she mixes it with water, and then it goes totally real.
That was practical?
Yeah.
Oh.
It was done by they pushed out the water particles from one side and then inflated it from the other side, and it made that. So that happens in real time.
Oh.
Yeah. Convincing.
That's cool.
Yeah. I mean, obviously there's some CGI in this movie for sure, like the Simon Pegg creature in the beginning.
Sure. But a lot of it looks pretty good.
Yeah, it looks really good. In post-production, they also do cut a lot. I mean, I think the original runtime was a little bit longer. They actually cut a lot of Maz Kanata's sequences out of the movie. She was originally going to, after her cantina palace area gets raided or whatever, she was going to go to the resistance base with everybody else. But the producers were like, well, she doesn't really do anything here, so we just get rid of her.
I would have liked for her character to have been like a surviving Jedi or something.
Well, she is like old like Yoda too. So she's been around for centuries.
Han says she's been running this watering hole for 1,000 years.
Mm-hmm.
But I think she would have been just like a fun ex-Jedi character. I mean, I know why they can't do that, but
add her to the list of characters that are underutilized in these movies.
Yeah.
Especially the next two. Annoying. But yeah, so the title for this movie originally was not Force Awakens. It wasn't revealed as Force Awakens until November of 2014, so after they had already finished shooting. The original title was Shadow of the Empire, the working title.
I don't know which one I like more.
I prefer Force Awakens, personally. I mean, Shadow of the Empire... there's no empire in the movie. I mean, there's First Order.
Basically, it's just the First Order is just a pseudo empire. It's
I know. Thing. Yeah. But Force Awakens is more exciting, and fits the tone.
I mean, it's more,
Shadow's darker, And then, of course, in the post-production stage of this movie, John Williams comes back to score. He does the score. He writes it from December to June of the next year. So they have to bring back John Williams to prevent the hellmouth from opening up underneath us, and the demons pulling us back. So thank you again, John Williams, for saving us once again. And but also contributing a little bit to the music was Lin-Manuel Miranda. Before
puke,
he did everything. He contributed to the Cantina music.
Did he?
Yeah. And in fact, I have a funny anecdote. It came about when J.J. Abrams, shortly after he was announced as director, he went to go see Hamilton on Broadway, and he met with Miranda. And Miranda said, hey, if you ever need someone to do the Cantina scenes, the Cantina music, I'm your guy. Kind of joking, not really ever thinking it would ever happen. But then once they wrote the movie, they had a Cantina scene. He actually got the call, and then they ended up doing it.
Okay, that's kind of a cute story.
But before he did everything Moana or whatever, everything for Disney. Yeah. All right. Well, Tanner, let's get into we've actually done we've been pretty good about not reviewing the movie before our actual review. So let's get into the review section of the movie.
Yeah. Do you want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
I'll go first this time, I guess. I love this movie. I remember when I watched it in the theater, it was just electric. Star Wars was finally coming back, and the old school fashion that we remembered, very nostalgic, very retro. But I feel like they did a really good job of just balancing the new stuff with the old stuff, introducing this new world of Star Wars that feels similar to the old world, but is going in this new direction at the same time, very exciting direction. They cast it very well, and the actors do a really good job, the new cast especially. And it's just a really, really fun movie. So this movie, I remember when it came out, it was like universally loved by pretty much everybody. Like the toxic fandom hadn't really come out yet at the time. And nowadays I feel like we look back on it a little bit differently because of what followed. And I agree, like the trilogy as a whole is a mess. But this movie as its own is great, I think.
I would agree. I don't have a lot of bad things to say about this movie. I do think that it like very, very heavily relies on nostalgia to make it good because in all honesty, it's really not that different of a story from like A New Hope. There's a lot of similarities and the pacing of it feels similar, but I don't dislike it. I think that a lot of people needed that nostalgia and appreciated it at the time because there was, such love and like interest and people were excited about a new Star Wars movie. So I would agree with that. I like this movie too very much. J.J. Abrams makes it feel a little grittier kind of too. Not and it's not very like super gritty, but there's just some things that are a little darker with it. The Kylo Ren stuff is definitely darker. But yeah, I like it. I like that it's interesting and fun and it doesn't feel like now the legacy sequel thing has been played out a little bit, but since this was kind of the first one, it feels like all of the appearances by the legacy cast are appropriate. None of them feel forced. They all have something to do. So yeah, I like this movie a lot.
Yeah. And speaking of the legacy cast and how they're utilized, we talked a little bit about that earlier. I do like how they mostly focus on Han Solo in this movie. I'm sad that they kill him off, but I'm also glad because I love that they had the balls to do that. It reminds me of in Scream 5 where she's like, we had to kill Dewey. Sorry, spoilers for Scream 5. We had to kill Dewey, otherwise we had to make it feel real, to make the stakes real. And it's like the same thing with this movie.
But it's true. I mean, and that's one of the moments I'm talking about where that is like a very dark moment. And especially to have his own son do it, you're just kind of like, what? So, I mean, it's a pretty shocking moment, I think.
I unabashedly love that sequence. It's probably my favorite sequence that Disney has filmed so far is, Kylo walking out on the catwalk and then Han following him. And there's like no score to that sequence at all. It's very chilling. And you can hear like the wind coming in from outside as Chewie and Rey watch from above, and like it fills you with like this really like sense of dread, going into it. Like it kind of tips its hat like we're going to kill Han Solo and it. And you're kind of like bracing yourself for it. And I love the moment, especially in Harrison Ford's acting, where he goes out there. Like when he first steps out there, he knows exactly what he's getting into. And he goes out there anyway.
Well, but it's kind of a fake out too. Throughout their conversation, Kylo Ren's asking for help and he's talking about how he doesn't know if he's strong enough to do this and will you help me? And you're like, okay, great. Maybe we're going to get like a little reconciliation. Like that's cool because they're not going to make his son kill him. And then that's kind of like a fake out and you're like, oh God.
But it's ballsy.
Yeah, for sure. It's
works.
Definitely a big risk, but I think it definitely pays off and it makes it. And then it's good too because Carrie Fisher doesn't have a lot to do in this movie. For the 2 scenes that she gets, I think you feel her pain a lot with. It's a really kind of bleak and sad moment, but it pays off really well.
And she never gets correct me if I'm wrong, but she never gets a moment with Kylo later on. I mean, unfortunately, obviously there was, she ends up tragically passing away, so they probably prevented that a little bit. But in the movies that we do get, we don't ever do get a Leia Kylo moment, do we?
I don't think so. I don't remember one in the second one. I know that their original plan for this trilogy was to have a more expanded like Leia role. So I don't know if in the original plan for that there was something with them, but I don't think they have anything.
I think in the next one there's like they sense each other moment, but definitely not like I don't think there's like a confrontation, like a face to face. And I'm really glad we get that because and this movie's pretty good about revealing gradually who Kylo is, like they start off by saying your father wouldn't approve. It's like I'm not my father's son or whatever, and then you gradually learn like okay, he's Han and Leia's kid. They've lost him to the dark side through Luke's training or whatever, and then that moment when before Han Solo dies, you learn his real name is when he says Ben. And he reaches out to his son. So I'm really glad that because without the moment of Han and Kylo being face to face, like you can't really sell the emotion behind their loss of him, as parents.
Yeah.
Like you could talk about it a lot, but until you really see it, it doesn't really mean anything. And I think that they smartly gave that not just Kylo's character, but that whole arc really good meaning, not just by killing Han, but by having that heartfelt moment between them where you do sense the anguish in him. And Han is the one to do it as this character he's not usually very emotional kind of guy. But this is his only child. To see him even put away his fears of, and he's always been a character from back in the first movie who was more interested in self-preservation. But to see him take that journey out there to try to reach his son, like, it's so effective to me.
Yeah, agreed.
And when he dies, it's like so tragic. And I love how they, like, the setting of the catwalk mirrors, Empire Strikes Back, and it's like George Lucas always says, it's like poetry, it rhymes, so it's perfect for me. It's so good. I love it.
Yeah. And as we go into that, I want to just touch from a less serious note. When I was talking about like the heavy nostalgia in it and the fact that it is kind of the same story rehashed, and maybe that's why it works so well. I like that they kind of give the audience like a bone a little bit too, because there's like a scene where they're talking about the Starkiller base, and then Poe is like, I think it's Poe is like, oh, so it's another Death Star. And they're like, no, because it's bigger. And they're like, here's the Death Star. And it's like a diagram. And they're like, and here's Starkiller Base. And I'm like, well, so it's just a bigger Death Star. And they're like, it's a whole planet, but it does the same thing. You're like, okay, cool.
But it has a topography to it. It has trees. Yeah. But I mean, while we're talking about the allusions to the old movies, particularly A New Hope, I'm not one to decry them. I mean, I know this movie has its critics for being too similar, and I think that's valid. I think it's just from perspective, but like, I think it works for me because like this movie knew what its task was, and that was recapturing the Star Wars magic from the 70s and the 80s, and especially in the light of the prequels, which were very different, intentionally, that George Lucas wanted them to be different. I think this movie knew that it had to go back and kind of play the hits a lot, but also make it feel new in certain ways, And
I mean, I would agree with that too. Like, I do find it very similar to A New Hope, but not in a way that annoys me or that I think doesn't work. I think I like it so much because it is similar, and it's not so similar that you like can't watch it.
No,
or that you feel like it's a direct ripoff. It's just, like I said, it's just nostalgic, and I like what they did with it.
If you zoom out, I guess, you have, okay, orphan on desert planet, wants more, finds droid with important information, meets somebody, and they go off on an adventure.
Meets wandering stranger from other land.
Yeah, they go off to find answers and identity and stuff like that. And then you have Han Solo being this kind of, whereas in the first movie he was the skeptic, and now in this movie he's kind of the Obi-Wan, where it's like, yes, the Force is real, like it's all true. And then of course he ends up dying like Obi-Wan in the first movie. Yeah, so if you zoom out, it's definitely very similar. Like the beats of the movie are very similar, and they destroy the giant Death Star again, albeit differently, I guess. But I think when you zoom in, you look at these new characters and how they tick, it's just feels different enough, Let's talk about the new characters though in particular. Let's talk about Rey. How do you feel about Rey as the new protagonist?
I like Rey as a character.
You do? A woman protagonist in Star Wars, Tanner? You like her?
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm not misogynistic enough to be like, this was absolutely not. I like Rey though. I like her as a character. I mean, she's similar to Luke in that she's not like really confident in her ability, but I think she gets there a lot quicker, and she's not as whiny about it as Luke was.
No, definitely not. She's definitely not.
The only thing I don't like about Rey is I love the fight between her and Kylo Ren at the end, like in the woods at night. Love that scene. I love when she gets the lightsaber. There's that kind of moment where Kylo goes to pull it when he knocks Finn out, and then she gets it, and it's like, that's a great moment.
That's like an applause moment. Like it's like the movie's like pause for applause.
Pause for applause. However, I hate that in that fight, all she does is just like thrust forward, like stab at him. And I get it. She's not trained. She doesn't know how to fight. But I'm like, girl, the thrusts are not working. Pick another move. Because she thrusts at him and then she gets like punched. And she thrusts at him and then she gets knocked down. And she thrusts at him and then it's like, okay, you need to figure something else out.
They really did, though, intentionally change a lot of the fighting styles in this movie from the old ones, even the original trilogy. The choreography of the fights is way different than other Jedi action we've seen before.
Yeah, definitely. And it's fine. I mean, I like it. My own personal problem with it is that she just uses like the thrust and parry method, but she never parries. She just thrusts over and over and it doesn't get her anywhere. I'm like, girl, figure it out.
Okay, well, speaking of, and this movie was not super criticized at the time of release, but if there was a criticism of the movie, it was definitely and I kind of hate this term, but people would say the Mary Sue, of Rey. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
Like the fact that the plot wills you to do things you shouldn't be able to do,
Yeah, and maybe like I don't know that I would buy that she would win in a fight, like a lightsaber duel with Kylo Ren. And she kind of, I mean, she doesn't really win that first fight. She survives it, but she doesn't like beat him by any means. But yeah, there are times in that fight where I'm like, I don't know that she'd be strong enough to like, when their lightsabers are like locked and he's pushing her over that, like, I don't know that I believe that she would have been able to like hold her ground there. But it's not enough to have it be like detrimental to the movie for me.
No, and I'm fine with it for the fact that it's Kylo, because a lot of their explanation for Kylo not being like way too like just dunking on her,
Yeah.
like he could be maybe he would be a Jedi Master if he stuck through training and didn't murder everybody there, like. And he hasn't really been like who does he have to spar with anyway these days? Like nobody. Not even his master is like I don't think Snoke is doing Jedi shit, lightsaber shit. And also Kylo is like super insecure. Like he's always getting his own head, and he just killed his father. So his mindset is not really there for game day,
Well, and he's hurt. I mean,
And
because
yeah.
the whole thing where he like hits his side to, fuel his anger, but he's bleeding out like the whole time.
Mhm.
But yeah, I like Rey.
How do you feel about Daisy Ridley
How do I feel about like as a casting choice? Or
in this movie, or as the character?
I think she's fine. I don't
Mhm.
have any problems with her. I don't think her acting is bad in it. And generally, like other projects I've seen Daisy Ridley in, I like her in. So I would say I'm a fan.
Yeah, I think she works a lot in this movie too. I like that they cast an unknown at the time to play this
Yeah.
character, and that goes to the whole new cast. I think is really great. John Boyega playing a stormtrooper that turns good is really novel and new. Like, because the stormtroopers have always been just kind of like generic, like nobodies, and like faceless bad guys to kill.
Yeah.
And I remember when the first trailer came out and you saw like the storm. I think he takes off his helmet on Jakku in the desert after he crash lands, and the trailer shows him and like hyperventilating or whatever, and everyone's like, "What? A stormtrooper is one of the characters? Like that's crazy."
Yeah, I mean, I remember thinking that too, and I was like, "Oh, that's exciting." Again, we already talked about this, I think, but I always thought that like all the stormtroopers were just leftover clones, and then like as they kind of got depleted, they added like new recruits. So I think it was kind of cool to add some character depth to stormtroopers, because up until now they're kind of like droidish or faceless, like nobody really cares about them.
Right, and through Finn, we learn a little bit more about how they are, brought up to be these like Nazis, basically. Like he never had like as far as you can remember, a name, like he was kind of plucked as a like infant or whatever and put into this program, and that's just been his whole life up until now. But it's his internal moral compass that leads him away from that, like the X factor you can't account for, even though you can instruct him certain ways. You can't make people be genocidal, I guess, at heart. And I really do like his I like his energy too in the movie. He's kind of like the fish out of water character, the guy who shouldn't really be here.
Well, and I like that you don't really know throughout the movie, you don't really know what to expect from him, because he definitely looks like he's going to be the front runner to be like the new hero. And then when they get to like Maz's place, he's the one that gets the lightsaber from her. So you're like, oh, here it comes. Like he's going to be the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
And even that, like, that's kind of a fun, like, fake out later when, like, Rey is the one that actually kind of gets it.
Yeah, and I actually do like that we have a character who's not a Jedi, not a Force user. Although in Rise of Skywalker, people say that they were teasing that, but that's for a whole other story. I like how you have a character who's not a Force user in a movie actually like pick up a lightsaber and try to use it. Like just somebody who's trying to fight and do the right thing, do good, have a lightsaber come into their path, and they just use it. He's not great at it, but but he has the fortitude to try his best. So I do love him for that reason.
Yeah, me too. I think it's cool.
And then let's talk about Poe a little bit as this kind of Han Solo stand-in. Poe in this movie is a little bit like I think Oscar Isaac does a great job in the role. I don't think he's such a good actor. He's kind of incapable of being bad. But the one thing about this movie I don't like is how he like disappears from the movie for so long. Like he has like that fake out death when they crash land on Jakku, and then they kind of like wave it off at the end, like, oh no, I got away earlier, and then whatever, I didn't actually die. I'm back now.
Yeah, and then they try to do like I feel like he kind of is like the Ryan Reynoldsy like smart mouth
Mm-hmm.
character, which I think at the time works, but rewatching it, like his first scene where, Kylo kind of like captures him and is interrogating him, he's like, well, do you talk first or I talk first? Like what
How does
happened?
how does how does this work?
Like
Yeah.
I remember in the theater, like that kind of breaks the tenseness of that moment. And in the theater, people laughed at it, but watching it
Yeah.
now, I'm like, I kind of wish that wasn't in there because it really, I don't know, it makes the scene seem more like silly.
I actually agree entirely with what you just said. I also laughed at it in the theater, but nowadays I kind of like it's kind of like it's like Marvel humor. I mean, it's not just Star Wars that does it. Marvel kind of like weirdly like killed the comedy genre because now all action movies are comedies now too. So
Yeah.
it kind of feels like that was adopted a little bit too much in this movie, especially in that moment with him. Also, like one of the things I don't like about some of the dialogue in this movie is like the sexual tension between Ray and Finn in this movie is weird. He's like,
Yeah.
"You got people that call me, you got a boyfriend, cute boyfriend." It's just I don't need it. I don't need it.
No.
I get that Finn is nervous and he's gonna say anything, but I just it's a little bit too cutesy for me.
Yeah. Agreed.
But I like all the characters conceptually, like I think they do a really good job at fleshing them out. And Kylo Ren could have been such a disaster, like he could have been just this like whiny like villain character, and he kind of is. He is whiny. He has his temper tantrums, which are hilarious.
Yeah,
I
he
think.
is very like emo kid all the time.
But it works. I feel like it works for me because number one, you have an actor as good as Adam Driver doing it who can pull it off, and number two, you feel like he actually is dangerous. I think Kylo really works for me. I like they sell that he's this very insecure. He's kind of is like a nepo baby of his universe. Like he's the son of the heroes of the rebellion from the Galactic Civil War. He's got huge shoes to fill as like the new face of the Jedi, and he breaks bad because he's a teenager, I guess, at the time or whatever, and that's what teenagers do when they're emo and shit. But I like it; it works for me.
Yeah, me too.
The moment where he like has the second of his tantrums where he destroys like equipment, and then you see those two stormtroopers walk in, and they're like, "Oh, let's better not."
We're gonna, yeah. See, that's some of that like Marvel humor that like I think that works.
Yeah.
I think the only part I didn't like was that Poe line that I remember really laughing at in the theater, and then I was just like, ugh, I wish this wasn't in here.
Some of the dialogue seems forced for the situation, but like, in the moment where like, but we're talking about good comedic moments. I love it when Rey is like when she is hypnotizing Daniel Craig Stormtrooper or Jedi mind tricking him, and she's like not sure if this is even gonna work, kind of thing. She's like, you will release these restraints and leave the cell with the door open, and he's like, what? And she's like, you will do it. And then I love at the end where she's like, oh my god, this worked, and you will drop your gun. And I'll drop my gun.
Yeah, and you'll drop your gun.
Or the part where they're like, oh, you were in waste management. Is there a trash compactor on here? Oh yeah, like we know what to do. We've done this before. Like so, I think there's a lot of knowing. Like some of the humor is good. Like there's a lot of knowing, like winks to the fans. It's just some of the dialogue, especially in the first like act or second act, is a little bit forced. But whatever, not a big deal. Okay, let's talk about the score. John Williams' score. Obviously, there are a lot of like cues in this movie that are basically, the old themes from the original. And I don't think this movie actually works without John Williams like coming back to give us those like famous cues, But there's also enough new here that it's still exciting and fresh too.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like you can't have a Star Wars movie without John Hughes. However, I feel like this one doesn't have
John
any...
Hughes at the Breakfast Club?
Oh, I'm sorry. John Williams. Damn, that ruined my train of thought. Oh, okay. You can't really have a Star Wars movie without a John Williams score. However, I feel like this one doesn't have anything like as remarkable as like, March of the Empire or the Duel of the Fates. Or like there wasn't
No.
anything that like blew me away in this.
No, you're probably right. And if I heard the score for this movie, I probably wouldn't be able to pick it out from the rest of them, But I mean, it's better than like we talk about like the Marvelification of the industry, with the humor, and also Marvelification is just like they also like their bland like any movie kind of scores, it's still better than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, he's an essential component. I'm glad he came back for these. All right, well, let's move on to box office. But watching before box office, I have marketing as part of the release. I didn't really write anything down for the marketing for this movie, just because there was a lot and it all kind of ran the same for me. Like I didn't really know what to pick out of it, really. I mean, obviously this movie was really, really hyped. I guess to talk about the hype though in particular, like, I do remember that first trailer coming out and everyone losing their minds, basically, on the internet.
Which is fun because look at how that's a parallel to, like people who were buying movie tickets to watch the trailer for Phantom Menace, and then those movies weren't particularly well received.
Mm-hmm.
But even so, you take a break from Star Wars in general, and everybody who hated on the prequels now gets a trailer for a new Star Wars movie, and they're all losing their minds and blowing their loads about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, oh, and look what you did with this trilogy too.
And it's the continuation of a story that for 30 years we never thought would be continued. To see these characters again after so long, some of the most iconic characters of all of cinema coming back.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the hype was definitely real. I was part of it, but
I remember I was in college at the time, and my film professor, like, for no reason, just showed us the trailer when it came out and was like just talking about like how what a big deal this movie coming out is to like the history of cinema. It's what everyone talked about for like a whole year, this movie. Speaking of the trailer though, have you ever seen that like that meme where they intercut Matthew McConaughey from Interstellar reacting to things, where he's crying. I think in the movie he's getting a message from Jessica Chastain, his now old daughter or whatever. But they changed that with the trailer for this movie, and he's like, all right, yeah. Oh yeah, Star Destroyer. And then he starts crying at like the music and stuff like that. It's just like, it's so good. I might watch that again after this.
I love that meme culture just gives us like some of the most iconic shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good on you, internet. That was a good one. So aside from the trailers being huge, I don't really know what else to get into as far as the lead up to this movie is concerned. I mean, it blew up the internet and everyone went crazy. That's kind of it.
And that's all I can remember too. I don't remember any like major promos like they did back in the day,
Yeah. And we already talked about the BB-8 droid toy.
Yeah.
That was the big one, but that's pretty much all I really cared to mention. Okay, so box office. So opening day in December of 2015, this comes out opening day to $119 million, which today would be $164 million. As always, I like to go over the movies that was released beside. So opening day, this was also released alongside Alvin and the Chipmunks: The Road Chip, which is the fourth movie in the Alvin and the Chipmunks saga.
Good Lord.
And Sisters, starring Tina Fey and Amy Poehler.
Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah, a little counter programming there. So your Barbenheimer possibilities back then were either I have Chipmunk Wars, Alvin Awakens. This one's better though. Next one is Sistar Wars.
Star Wars. That's better than, I was gonna be like, what, Star Sisters?
So you didn't get to do the you didn't get to do the Clone Wars episode last time. But you're listening to it now, but you haven't gotten to the end of the episode, right? So you haven't heard.
No, I'm only halfway through.
Oh, the last one was like probably the best one that I've ever done, and it's so good. I'm proud of it.
Okay,
I'll never top it.
Save it. I'll save it because I want to hear it, and then we'll talk about it next week.
I mean, I could say it now to you if you want, so I can get your reaction, but
I don't know. I kind of want to save it. No, you go. Just
okay.
Now.
I just want to. So funny. Okay, so there were two movies for the Clone Wars in '08: Tropic Thunder and Vicky Cristina Barcelona. So Tropic Thunder, okay, Thunder Wars, sure, but the better one is Vicky Cristina Barcelona.
Stop. Barcelona.
Anyway, I was so sad that you were going to be on that episode because, like, oh, Tana would have loved this one.
Oh, I do love it.
It's the crossover we never knew we wanted. Although I do imagine like Star Wars, you'd have Tina Fey playing Leia with the buns, which I think she did on SNL, and then of course Amy Poehler would be Darth Vader. Of course, I mean right there,
obviously. 4'8".
Yeah. Or was Maya Rudolph? I guess because this is the movie Sisters, so maybe Maya Rudolph can be Vader, and then
more fitting.
Yeah,
and Maya Rudolph is like the villain of Sisters. So
Okay, I don't remember anybody else from that movie, but
That movie's got a good like cameo ensemble cast too. It's a lot of like SNL veterans. It's Bobby Moynihan, Rachel Dratch, Ike Barinholtz.
Okay.
Who else is in that?
Like Barinholtz can be Poe.
Yeah, there's a lot of good people in that.
And I guess if we're still doing a Barbenheimer crossover, we can have Alvin be Finn and Simon can be Poe or whatever. No, Theodore's Poe.
See, and then Amy Poehler and Tina Fey and Maya Rudolph can just be like the Chipettes.
Well, who's the main Chipette? What's her name? She could be Ray. Brittany is Ray.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I don't remember what is it? It's like Brittany and Janelle or Jeanette.
I don't know. I know the main one is Christina Applegate, but that's it. Not that it matters because they changed the voices anyway. Anyway, sorry. A little tangent there, but I like it. Okay, so but obviously everyone saw The Force Awakens and not those other two movies this weekend. Opening weekend, this movie makes $247.9 million, which today would be $341.8 million. So crazy good.
Yeah.
In the top 10, you also have The Hunger Games Mockingjay Part 2 in week number 5. You have Creed in week number 4. Everyone's favorite Pixar movie, The Good Dinosaur, in week number 4 as well. Krampus, the obligatory Christmas horror movie that year, in week 3. And that forgotten Moby Dick movie, In the Heart of the Sea, with Chris Hemsworth in week 2.
Yes. The Moby Dick movie that wasn't about Moby Dick.
It was about the inspiration for Moby Dick.
Yes.
That no one saw.
That nobody watched.
This movie, Force Awakens, was number 1 at the box office for 4 straight weekends going into January. Weekend number 5, it drops to number 3 behind a comedy movie, Ride Along 2. In its first week. Yeah. I haven't seen either of the Ride Along movies. That's the
one, especially for like a January, because January's kind of notoriously like not a strong month in cinemas.
But it still beat the other newcomers that weekend in the 5th weekend, 13 Hours, and the animated classic starring Rob Schneider, Norm of the North.
Never heard of that.
It's terrible. Don't watch it. But it was also behind, speaking of January being a dumping ground, it's also Oscar season. So it fell to The Revenant as well that weekend. Beat it in its 4th weekend. That was a big movie. Leo fever. Leo having actual fever on screen as he dies or tries not to die somehow. So this movie's also in the top 10 for 10 weeks, which is really good for a movie nowadays. Nowadays, if you make it 10 weeks in the top 10, that's kind of a notable achievement.
Most of them were like 3 weeks now.
3 weeks, or yeah. Like I think Scream 7 just left the top 10 this last weekend, and it was like 6 weeks in after 6 weeks, and that's pretty good for a horror movie.
Well, Scream 7 has been gone from my theater for like a month already.
Well, right. Well, your theater gets only movies for like 3 weeks period, and they're gone forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Small town living, I guess. I should mention. Domestically, Force Awakens makes $936.7 million, so knocking on the door of $1 billion domestically, which is never been done. It's crazy. Today, that would be over $1 billion, be 1.3, but still hasn't happened yet, technically. It's the highest grossing movie of 2015, both domestically and worldwide. Domestically, though, the second highest grossing movie, I wondering if you can guess this one, it made $652.3 million in number 2, was also a legacy sequel for a big franchise.
Aww.
Well, actually, I guess I should say legacy sequel because the old characters don't come back yet, but they do in the later ones.
I'm going to be so mad because I'm going to know it once you say it.
Another franchise that Spielberg was involved with.
15?
Yeah, summer, I should say. This is a summer movie.
I don't know.
Let's see, what else can I say? It's the 4th entry in the franchise a franchise that had been dormant for 14 years, I believe. So also a big return.
I don't know, like Transformers?
No, it's Jurassic World.
Oh, duh. 2015 Jurassic World.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, this Force Awakens set the domestic record for highest gross ever. And it still has not been topped. What is it now? 11 years later, almost. It dethroned Avatar as the highest grossing domestic movie, which had $785.2 million from 2009. And it's still number 1. The number 2 movie has come out since Force Awakens at $858.4 million, so just less than $100 million away. Can you guess what that one is?
No.
Big franchise movie as well. Supposedly the end, but it didn't end up being that way, unfortunately. Okay, it's Avengers Endgame, number 2.
Oh.
Force Awakens is still the number 1 by like $70 million.
Okay.
Worldwide, this movie makes $2.07 billion. I think it's one of like the 4 or 5 movies all time that have done that much money. Aside from like the 2 Avatar movies, Naja 2 from last year. It makes $2.9 billion worldwide in today's money, if you adjust for inflation. It's also the highest grossing film worldwide of 2015. Number 2 is also Jurassic World with $1.7 billion. At the time, Force Awakens was the third highest grossing movie ever of all time, anywhere, behind Avatar and Titanic. So James Cameron basically is behind James Cameron.
Yeah. James Cameron always dominates that category.
Can you imagine if he directed a Star Wars movie, what that would do?
I'd probably like it more.
Now, as of today's recording, Force Awakens is now the 6th highest grossing movie of all time. It has since been bumped by further releases: Avengers Endgame, Avatar The Way of Water, and Ne Zha 2 from China.
Huh.
The budget for this movie was a whopping $536 million, which today would be equate to $739 million. It is today still the most expensive movie of all time, even when you adjust for inflation.
Wow.
Yeah.
That honestly kind of surprises me.
Really? What would you have thought?
I don't think that there's not like a lot to it that would be expensive. There's not like major battle scenes in it, with like thousands of people. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like it would be that expensive.
Yeah, and the fact that they're filming on a soundstage for most of it, like not a lot of location shooting. And they shoot for, what was it, like May to November?
Which that is a long shoot time. I mean, all the prequels were done in like, what, 3 months?
Yeah, the prequels were 3 months, yeah. So it's long, but there have been people who've shot movies for longer than that. So yeah, I guess I'm a little surprised too. But when the biggest media company in the world buys the biggest franchise in the world and they make a new one, I guess it's just natural it's going to cost the most, right?
Well, yeah. I'm just surprised that it was the most expensive movie ever when there's not like any major wars. I don't know.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. The second most expensive movie of all time, budget-wise, is actually The Rise of Skywalker, interesting enough. Also, if you also adjust for inflation too, all time, it's Rise of Skywalker number 2.
Wow.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get into the critics' reactions of this movie. So this is a pretty widely praised movie. I mean, despite all of the hype for this one, it kind of meets expectations in every regard. Critics thought it was exciting, it was fresh, enough nostalgia to get going, but, enough new stuff as well. They loved the new cast. This was a pretty highly received movie at the time. And by fans too, pretty much, for the most part.
Yeah, I would agree with all of that.
But I mean, it's not without its drawbacks. I mean, we kind of talked about it a little bit too, like how it's a little bit too similar to New Hope for some people. I don't think it is for me, but that is a common criticism. Fan service was possibly a little too much. I also disagree with that, but that's fine. I understand that too. Although I do have George Lucas's reaction here.
Ooh, give it to me.
Can you guess how he felt, positive or negative?
I'm going to say, I don't know. I feel like it'd be dangerous for him to just be like negative about it, but I'm going to go with negative.
You're right. He was mostly negative on the movie. He guardedly negative, I should say. Like he knew like he didn't want to like ruin everybody's parade or whatever. So he wasn't like openly like criticizing it too much.
Yeah.
But you could tell that he saw an advanced screen before it came out. He thought it was too similar to the old trilogy, too retro, basically. If he was going to do his sequels, he wanted to do new stuff. So he was a little disappointed by just how much it was similar, I guess.
Okay.
But he also, there's a great quote where he said, like, part of his disdain for the movie is because it was kind of like watching your wife cheat on you with somebody else,
Who looks just like you?
Oh, you mean the glasses with Abrams?
No, I mean like just because the movies are similar, to like
yeah.
A New Hope. So it'd be like, oh yeah, I'm watching someone cheat on me with someone who looks just like me because it's the same movie.
Yeah, so he said that selling Lucasfilm to Disney was like going through a divorce, and then like everything after that was, Lucasfilm's new spouse, banging them all over the place. So for him, it was like, okay,
Banging them all over town.
Gross, not really my thing, but I'm happy for you too. So yeah, I don't know if they were ever going to please him though. I mean, as like the creator, like of this, like they were never going to like knock it out of the park for as far as he's concerned. It's kind of like Stephen King with all of his like, you can make a movie as good as The Shining, but then he's like, it's not my thing. It's not mine. What the creator says.
Which, I mean, they kind of did because if you go to like Dr. Sleep in The Shining, they're not the same thing by any means, but that's another tangent. I think Dr. Sleep is much better than The Shining, but...
let's get into just some scores for the movie, like critics and audience scores. Last week, we talked about how the Clone Wars hit a lot of franchise lows for the franchise releasing these scores. This week, This movie sets no records, but that's fine. Still pretty good. You got a 93% audience Rotten Tomato score with an 84% audience score. It's got an 80 on Metacritic with a 6.6 user score. 7.7 on IMDb. That's pretty good there. Letterboxd a little bit lower. It's 3.2 out of 5. And then it got an A cinema score. So people coming out of the theater were very much liking what they got. Accolades. This movie gets nominated for 5 Oscars. You get John Williams, your obligatory nomination for Best Original Score. I believe this is his first one, though, for Star Wars since Jedi. He doesn't get any for the prequels. But, I mean, not like he was starved for Oscar nominations.
Well, yeah, he's like, oh.
He's getting it for everything else. And in fact, this marks his 50th Oscar nomination.
Wow.
Yeah. Doesn't win, though. He loses to another icon of film composition, Ennio Morricone, who, is known for the, spaghetti westerns, who won this year for The Hateful Eight, the Quentin Tarantino movie.
Oh.
Yeah. This movie is also nominated for film editing, sound editing, and sound mixing, back when sound was 2 different categories. All of those it lost to Mad Max Fury Road. Every year there's like a big blockbuster that like the awards bodies are like, oh, we also love that too, and that was the Mad Max year.
Oh, we also love that too.
Yeah. In fact, I think Mad Max got the most Oscars that year, even though it didn't win Best Picture.
I feel like Mad Max was like not really a sleeper hit because everybody liked it, but you think of it as kind of I'm going to say, quote, like a trashy action movie, but it was like very well received critically.
Yeah. 2015 was a big year too, because you have that, Star Wars, Jurassic World, you get Avengers Age of Ultron as well.
Uh-huh.
Like, there's a lot of big movies that come out that year. 50 Shades of Grey, the first one.
Yes, obviously an Oscar contender.
Anyway, and then it's also, Force Awakens is also nominated for visual effects, but it does not win somehow. It also does not lose to Mad Max either. You know what wins? This is a big surprise. It loses to Ex Machina, starring co-stars Donald Gleason and Oscar Isaac, their other movie they were starting together. That was a big surprise because, I mean, the only real visual effects on that movie is like Alicia Vikander's like robot body,
Yeah. But I mean, if you do it well enough, I guess like if that's the focal point of the movie.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the delineation is like most visual effects versus like best visual effects,
Yeah.
In this case, I guess just the one visual effect they're working on that one was like put it over the top. And also, I mean, Ex Machina, a little bit more like Academy friendly, I guess, if you're trying to like.
It's a little more of like an art house movie.
Yeah. So they were like, oh, let's give it to that, But I think any other year, probably Force Awakens would have won it. Okay, so let's get into the legacy of this movie. So this movie, we talked about this a little bit earlier. This like sets like the template for the legacy sequel that is pretty much like regurgitated in every franchise now that comes back. Basically has to copy Force Awakens. How do you feel about that trend starting up, Tanner?
I think some of them work really well, and I think some of them are just like cash grabs that are garbage. I think this one works well. I think that Scream works well. Is it bad that like those are kind of the only 2 that I can think of? I think that the first Jurassic World is good, even though it's not like a legacy sequel because nobody comes back until like Dominion.
Yeah.
But I still would consider Jurassic World one because it,
They're going back to the park.
Yeah, they're still going back to like the basics of that first movie. And I think that the 2015 one works well. I don't know the rest of them are that great, but
we mentioned Blade Runner 2049 as being another Harrison Ford legacy sequel kind of thing. That one also, I mean, it lost money, but it was a great movie. Halloween did that too with their new trilogy of movies.
Oh, yes. Again, but like I feel like half of them fall off because Jurassic World, great. The ones after it, not so good. 2018 Halloween, phenomenal. The rest of them, not good.
Well, maybe that's like kind of a trend because the Star Wars also experiences that too later on. So maybe that's part of the
Force
formula.
Awakens, great. Rest of them, not good.
Yeah, so maybe that's part of the issue with legacy sequels is that you hit really well with the first one that you come out with, the first legacy sequel, and then when you try to follow up that one, it's a little bit harder,
Yeah.
Also here I have Dr. Sleep, which you mentioned, Top Gun Maverick, big legacy sequel. Ghostbusters Afterlife was a big one too.
Uh-huh.
That one worked for me. Sequel did not work for me again.
Yeah, same.
Oh, Matrix came back too with the legacy sequel, Resurrections. That one did not work for me at all, though.
Sorry, I love Jonathan Groff, but it's a no.
It's a no for me, dog. Oh, and the Creed movies, also good legacy sequels. Also, although all those ones I would say all of the Creeds are good. They nail it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is really a legacy sequel because it's kind of a third entry in its own franchise, but also Spider-Man No Way Home does that a lot too with the like combining the franchises, the versions, you
Oh
know.
yeah.
It's a sequel to the Tom Hollands, but it's also, you know, like it's like the greatest hits, you know, movie too as well.
Yeah.
This movie really starts a whole thing here pretty much with this trend of reviving old franchises, you know, in this way that is nostalgic, but also trying to move forward with this new young cast usually. So anyway, as far as the reception for this movie is concerned, though, I feel like, I mean, when this movie came out, like it was hugely praised by pretty much everybody. I mean, I'm sure there were still subsets of the Star Wars fan base that were not happy with it, but I mean, for the most part, it didn't really feel like this was a divisive movie for a while. But then once Last Jedi comes out and Solo and another Star Wars movie and another Star Wars movie and Rise of Skywalker tries to wrap it up poorly, pretty much. Now, when you look back on Force Awakens, it's a lot harder to look back on it fondly because of where it goes from here.
Yeah. And I'm probably guilty of that too, because I liked this movie when it came out and I was a big fan of it and I was excited about it. And then as more properties were released, now I'm kind of just like, ugh, post Disney Star Wars is all trash. You know.
Yeah.
But I going back and rewatching this because I haven't watched it in a few years. I'm like, oh no, I really do enjoy this movie.
But a lot of that's just like oversaturation of the market, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I will watch any Star Wars that comes out, but I'm not the average viewer, you know? There is such a thing as too much of a thing. And this movie worked so well because I mean, we did get the prequels, but even then it had been 10 years since we got a proper Star Wars movie in live action. So there was a big like hunger, I think, for this movie to exist. And that's
Yeah.
why it worked so well. And then they end up doing too much after that. So they go from not enough Star Wars to way too much Star Wars. And it's probably their biggest problem. It doesn't feel special anymore, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
No, it just feels like you're getting popped out with a bunch of half-assed stuff.
Yeah, so that's probably Disney's biggest mistake is seeing this as like a cash cow as opposed to a golden cow that should be respected and, you know, nurtured and loved. I mean, they had to stop making Star Wars movies for a while because they weren't sure if it was going to hit. You know, like eventually you dilute the brand if you do too much.
Yeah.
So I feel like for Force Awakens in particular, it gets a little bit of a bad rap today for the decisions that would be made later on and the movies that would be made later on. In fact, I think I did when I was working for Watch Mojo, we did a list of top 10 movies that went from being loved to hated, and this was on there, Force Awakens. So I do feel a little bad in that regard that it is like that it's been lumped in with the hate for the rest of the other movies. I understand it, but you know, I think this movie on its own is pretty spectacular.
Yeah, I do too.
So it's just sad to me that, you know, like after this we just get, you know, so much divisiveness and arguments and, you know, like anyway, before we finish up though, let's get into I wanted to talk a little bit about you know, how this affects careers. I'm going to save a lot of them for Rise of Skywalker because, you know, these actors come back for a few more. But we didn't have this section in the original trilogy episodes that we recorded. Right now, I guess let's talk about Harrison Ford and Han Solo as a character, because this is his most iconic role. I mean, when he gets this part in 77, it changes the whole face of his career and he becomes like the biggest movie star on the planet, but pretty much for a long time. And it prompts him to have to come back for this one and the rest of his, you know, iconic characters as well.
Do you look at that as like a negative then? Or
That he had to come back and do the rest of them?
yeah.
Not necessarily. I think Blade Runner does it really well with him. Like it feels natural. Indiana Jones later sequels are a little bit spottier. I don't dislike them. Of course, Crystal Skull came out before this, but I just mean like it didn't feel. I don't think it really captured the same Harrison Ford feel of them. And again, like I don't have trouble believing that Han can shoot a blaster at people, but I do have trouble believing that Indiana Jones at 80 years old can like swing from his whip.
Yeah, that one's a little harder to pull off, I think.
Yeah. I just wanted to mention Harrison Ford since this is his last go as Han Solo. I mean, kinda. For the most part, this is the last time we really get him in the movies, his swan song. And I think it's a really big thing that they kill him off. I remember when I saw this movie in theaters, my uncle was very, you know my uncle, the that uncle.
Yeah.
And he was very upset they killed Han Solo. He thought it was stupid. I just remember him saying like, "Oh yeah, that's a really good idea. Let's just kill Han Solo. Let's just do it. That's great. Yeah, that's a great idea. Just do it." Like super sarcastic. I'd like defend it. But I do think that like it is really important to see this like iconic character like die. I know I hate to harp on the scene again, but like I do think it is like a watershed moment in like pop culture, you know?
For sure. But I think it works too, because really what else are you gonna do with him? Like I think this last is a more lasting impact on like the legacy of that character having him die than it would be to just like keep him, around to keep him around. Because I think it fuels the story a lot more.
Yeah, very well handled, I think. And they it could have really bungled it, but they didn't, thankfully. Other couple of names I want to mention before we move on. A lot of them obviously come back to do the more sequels, so we'll talk about them later. But this is the last time we see Peter Mayhew. As we mentioned, he passed away in 2019 after surrendering the Chewbacca role. He didn't come back after this movie, as he had some health problems after that. And this is the first and only time we see Max von Sydow in this franchise, as he also passes away in 2020. So just want to mention those two legendary actors. Glad they got to be part of Star Wars.
Nod to you, fellas. Nod to you.
Okay, yeah. So that's gonna do it for our show. Before we go, though, let's get into some pop culture shoutouts. Tanner, what would you like to talk about?
Oh, Tim, I want to talk to you about the casting for The Hunt for Gollum.
Oh, yes, please do.
Because that got announced. Ooh, I found this blanket behind me that I didn't know was here. I was like, this chair is kind of uncomfortable. And the whole time is because I was sitting on this wonderful, like, Russian babushka blanket. Oh, I love. Okay.
You're talking about Hunt for Gollum. Before you got distracted by your grandma's
Hunt for
blanket.
Gollum. I am shocked because the rumor forever was that Viggo was coming back. Apparently not true. No Viggo Mortensen. They've replaced him with Mr. Christian Grey himself, Jamie Dornan.
What?
Yes, I was disappointed. And then someone made a fan edit of Jamie Dornan in Aragorn costuming. And I'm like, okay, I don't hate it.
Wait, did that come out today?
I think yesterday, maybe.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, like the official, like from the studio, and most of them are correct. Like we knew Andy Serkis was Gollum.
Right,
we
of
knew
course.
Ian McKellen was coming back as Gandalf.
Uh-huh.
We knew that it was confirmed that Kate Winslet was cast, but in an unnamed role. And then for a while, Leo Woodall was
that's who I thought was going to be cast.
Yeah, so he was being thrown around, and then everyone was like, oh, he's going to be, because they're not calling him Aragorn in this movie, they're calling him Strider, which is fine. But they were like, oh, he's going to be in the Strider role. But it turns out, it sounds like based on his character name, he's going to be an elf, Leo is, and that Jamie Dornan is going to be Strider. And then Elijah Wood is confirmed as Frodo.
But this is a prequel, right? This is before Fellowship.
Yes.
I mean, Viggo would probably be too old by now to be younger Aragorn, right?
Well, and then they even put on, like when they did that side by side of Jamie Dornan, they're like, bro, Jamie Dornan looks older than Viggo Mortensen did in Lord of the Rings, which is true because I think Jamie Dornan's probably maybe the same age or older than Viggo Mortensen was when he filmed Lord of the Rings. So it's like, yeah, I feel like you really need like a 38-year-old man to do this.
And how old is, let's see, Jamie Dornan is 43. So yeah, he's a little bit up there. Interesting. I mean, at the one hand, I'm like, they gotta age down. But on the other hand, you're having Elijah Wood come back to play a character he played when he was like 19, and now he's like 45.
Yes. And Elijah Wood doesn't look old, but even when he came back as Frodo in The Hobbit, it was kind of like like it didn't feel like a natural fit, you know? So I'm interested to see what that's like.
Are you excited for the movie? Like, or are you nervous?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that I'll love it, but Lord of the Rings is one of those properties that I'll eat up anything they throw at me. Any game I'll play, any movie I'll watch, any show I'll watch, even if I don't like them all. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, I'm trying to kind of stay away from the project as much as I can, just so I'm surprised by it, but I'll give it a whirl.
Stephen Colbert writing it. So weird.
Yeah, I think that's odd.
I mean, I know he's a Lord of the Rings super fan, but like, it's just weird. Okay, so for my pop culture shout out, I went and saw The Drama starring Robert Pattinson and Zendaya.
I've heard very mixed things. How was it?
I thought it was great, but it was also kind of uncomfortable, you know?
Spoiler free, can you tell me like what that movie's about? Because I don't get it from the trailer.
So from the trailer, it's revealed like they have like this sit down where they all talk about like the worst things they've ever done. And the thing Zendaya says, or her character says, is like not just like funny bad, but like really bad, you know? So they're about to get married, her and Pattinson. So it forces them to like, well, it forces him mostly to like reevaluate who
Re-examine.
she is, you know, and whether he can actually get married to her in such a short time frame. I went into this movie like, I have to know what the secret is. I have to know because they're keeping it a secret. I will say it's pretty shocking if you are someone who has very serious triggers. You might want to do some research beforehand. Although I don't, you know, you'd spoil the twist. Although the twist, I mean, it comes in like 15 minutes in, so it's like, you know, but the rest of the movie is like about that, you know. So
Oh.
and the idea of this thing that she mentions, you know, it's very topical, it's very serious, you know. And it may make you uncomfortable. Like I remember there was in my theater there were 2 sets of gal pals in front of me, you know, who were the demographic, I guess, for a Robert Pattinson Zendaya rom-com. And then once that like thing happens or is mentioned, it just like changes the mood, you know. And like I can tell the mood was like dampened for these girls, you know. It's hard. It's a little bit hard to stomach, but I think it's also an important conversation they're having in the movie. I think it's topical, and I think they handle it pretty well. And it's also like it's a black comedy, pretty much. So like the humor is also pretty well done, and I think it's very on the nose in terms of how people do respond to things like this in the media and how they do think about these kind of things or fail to communicate about them. So I really recommend it. Yeah, but if you're worried about that kind of stuff, do your research because this is not a light movie whatsoever.
I'm looking it up to see if there's showtimes near me.
Okay.
Because now I'm intrigued.
I don't think you in particular would worry. I don't think you don't really have many trigger warnings, do you? Like for movies and stuff?
No. Bro, I'm not going to air my deepest, darkest traumas right here. No, but yeah, I'm usually pretty okay with that kind of stuff.
Like the only thing I'm worried about you for is like ghost movies, you know, and then you have to go to sleep all your own in the woods, you know?
You know, because I live in a haunted house. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bro, my theater's really not doing good right now.
Really?
It's only showing 3 movies.
Well,
And it's a 5-screen theater. Why are we only have 3 movies? All we have right now is Yumi and Tuscany, the Super Mario Galaxy movie, which that's probably the problem because it's taking up like 6 screens a day.
Yeah.
And Project Hail Mary.
yeah, it's probably just big blockbusters taking over, you know?
Well, yeah, and usually that's what my theater gets is they try to pick the movies that they think are going to make the most money. So we get the most like we don't get a lot of like indie films or art house movies, which is too bad.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Tim.
Yeah.
Here's another pop culture moment. So you and I will be together this weekend. We're both attending the same wedding.
Mm-hmm.
However, we almost need to play hooky from this wedding because the theater in one of the towns closest to the wedding is having a Tim Curry marathon in honor of his 80th birthday. But to be fair, they're not playing his best movies. But the first one they're playing is Muppet Treasure Island. And I'm like, oh, I'd love to watch that in theaters.
Oh, see, yeah, that's like not one of the ones that I like.
So they're playing Clue, which is
Yes.
a big yes for us.
Yes, but yes.
Muppet Treasure Island
Yeah.
and Legend.
Okay. He's the best part of that movie.
He is, yeah. But I was like, oh, how fun that this theater's doing like a Tim Curry. Here's some Tim Curry movies for his birthday.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Anyway.
Oh, well, we can't go to it, but that'd be nice. We should see Clue, though, in theaters one day for sure. That's like an all-timer
I
for
would like
us.
to, yeah. All right.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for our show. Thank you guys so much for listening. Tune in next week as we continue our dive for the Disney era of Star Wars with Rogue One, a Star Wars story, or just Rogue One, basically.
Or just Rogue One :
Rogue One.
Rogue :
Rogue : a Star One story. Yes, so we will be continuing with that as we get into the first spin-off movie, I guess you could say, for Star Wars. Thank you guys so much for listening. You can get in contact with me at Letterboxd. I am at TGMacman, TGMACMAN. Almost lost my train of thought there. TGMACMAN, yes.
You guys, you can find me on the gram, Tanwell10. And also, submit some questions for us. I'd like to answer some.
Yes, we still have an email address, questions@backtothefranchise.com. And ask us anything you want. Anything at all. We're desperate. But in the meantime, you can also help the podcast by just rating and reviewing us, you know, giving us a thumbs up on things, sharing, whatever, you know. It's nice to be validated sometimes.
Yeah, give us a thumbs up. go away if it's a thumbs down.
Yeah, and there's a weird glitch algorithm thing with a lot of these apps for podcasts where if you don't give 5 stars, it won't record it. So you got to give 5 stars. I'm sorry, it's the only option.
Yeah, it's got to be the full 5.
Yeah, but thank you guys so much for listening. Anyway, until next week, we'll see you later.
See you later.
May the force be with you.